Hey, good Sunday evening and good Monday morning to some of us here in the studio. What is up, Tim? You can go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go. Thank you so much, my friend, for doing this and for being here. I really appreciate it.
Ohio gozaimasu to everybody. Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So glad to have you. This is pretty awesome, especially after you started popping into some of the shows we were doing on Sundays here. Mondays for you, obviously.
Well, this is my, I'm off this month, so I get to come in. Next month, I'll be working on Mondays, and unfortunately, your show is going to be running in that time zone. So,
okay. I just thought that it might have been a Monday where it was either off for you or you had some schedule that, you had a few hours gap kind of thing. That's why I thought
that happens sometimes, but yeah.
Okay. But it's a month off you're taking right now that you've got.
Yeah. School doesn't start till April. So.
Right. Okay. Well, awesome. It worked out perfectly then. I'm very, very excited to do this. And you know what? Everybody, you all, those of you who've been regulars here, even semi-regulars, you guys all remember my show and tell with Richard O, directly from Singapore. You might recall how his audio was on the fritz for pretty much the whole show. But as you can see and hear, everything sounds and looks pretty amazing with Tim. So very, very happy that you'll all be able to hear him and what he has to say. I know that for those of you who don't know, who have not checked out Tim's gallery, and shame on you if you haven't, but Tim is one of those people who, a collector after my own heart. When he posts his art into his gallery, he loves not only to add a description, but a long-winded one. And I know the term long-winded sounds negative tinged, but no, I mean that, in the best way possible. He gives a great amount of background to his posts. I love that. So give yourself a pat on the back for that, Tim, because that's awesome. Yeah. There you go. So please do check that out later after the show when you have time, everyone. Because he's got an amazing collection. But of course, tonight is just a little preview of it. And hopefully what we show tonight gets you excited to go and take a look at Tim's gallery later on. Okay, so before I say hello to those of you who popped into the room, let me just do the quick promo. I believe it's just one channel this time. And that is for our friend Carl Sodergren. And Carl, not only does he have his usual 2 videos this week, he actually has 3. So the first one I'm going to put in is for Comic Art Unboxing number 39. So that right there is the direct link to that. And then the second one, and this is the second one in succession that he did throughout the week, but this is a new one that he did. It is the Energon, or do you say Energon or Energon Universe comic review for Transformers 18. For those of you interested in that series, I know some of you are. So check out the direct link to that there. And then last but not least, Carl's usual weekly show, Bagged and Boarded, where he gives his very honest and straightforward reviews of the comics that he has purchased this past week. So let me pop that one as well into the chat. And this week he's talking about Absolute Superman. Well, check it out. I don't want to ruin it for you, but check that out, please, if you have the time, and he would appreciate that. Also, give him a like while you're there. If you're here tonight, for some of you tomorrow, and those of you on Rewind, please, can I please ask of you, and those of you, especially if you're here, if you're a friend of Tim's and you have no involvement in the comics or comic book art hobby, you're just a friend here to support and watch Tim, could I please ask of you, right here somewhere below where I'm pointing, there is a thumbs up icon. And if you could just click that, that's the equivalent of hitting the like button on other websites. Doesn't really do much for me, but it's just nice to see as many people as possible that click the like button. So if you could do that, that's all I ask. I would appreciate that. Same thing to you regulars. Please don't forget to do that. I would appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry, other than Carl, of course, we've got Nick. Just a quick reminder. Sorry, Nick, but I don't think your Friday show is scheduled yet, so I did not find a direct link to this Friday show. But everybody, please check out Nikki B at the EXP right here on YouTube this Friday and every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. There is the handsome fellow himself. So yes, you can buy some stake your claim to some original art. He's always got some art for sale. And oftentimes it is entry-level stuff, but sometimes higher-end stuff as well. So please do check that out. Okay, now let me jump in real quick, everybody. And yes, I got to do it quick. For those of you who do not like to read descriptions of my shows as I post them up on YouTube, I'll tell you that for the, I do believe this is the third show and tell episode in a row where we do have kind of a hard stop earlier than my usual super long episodes. And I think we'll be okay anyways. In fact, I'm pretty positive we'll be okay. But just in case, just know that there is a hard stop. And so I may not interact with all of you very loyal watchers, live viewers, as much as I normally do, okay? But let me say, oops, that's me. At least I'm not shirtless. Let me say hello to some of you. What's up, Tom? Good evening to you. CJ, good to see you. I hope you're feeling better, CJ. And Ruben is claiming he's Superboy now. Well, didn't you see the picture? You saw the picture. I looked exactly like Superboy. That's because I'm him. My guest over on this side is Superman. Did you not recognize him? Like I said in the description that you didn't read, it must be the glasses. You see? That's why nobody in the comics ever figured it out. Oh, who are you? Whoa, where's... Oh, there you are. Oh. You see what I mean, guys? You see? TJ, what's going on? What's cooking? Oh, thank you so much to my lovely wife. Thank you, Vivian. Thanks for the support all the time. And she welcomes you, Timothy. There you go. Look at that. Thanks, hon. I'm here so you can start the show now. Oh, are you saying that you're important? All we're waiting for is you, Sean. How's it going, Sean? Good to see you. Rickster, what's going on? Good to see you. Hellos from everybody back and forth. Let's get claimy. You'll probably want to claim some art. Unfortunately, it's not for sale. So, hey, what's going on, Kavi? Kavi saying hello to myself and to you, Tim. And what else? We don't got time for this. That's what else we got. Hellos back and forth. More. Okay. Kavi, Sean, Rick. Hey, Rodney, what's going on? Good evening to you. Hi, Kavi. Hey, Lee Parmeter says, hi, Ruben, Timothy, and all you chatters. What's up, Lee? Good to see you. And Cab, my good dear friend, Comic Art Boston. Again, unfortunately, timing isn't good, so I'm stopping by just to register my like and to say hello to Timothy. Stock of G to you. I love that one. Nice. Now that's wow. He took the time to say that. Wow, that's amazing. There you go, Cab. Comic Art Boston, we just call him Cab because his name's long, so right. We use the acronym Cab. And John's Comics with Kids, what's happening to you? Good to see you, sir. And who else we got? Superman. He is Superman indeed. Good evening to you, John Brown. Thank you for dropping in. And we know you'll catch us on Rewind, of course. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And thank you. Hello to you. And that New Age music is still weird. I know, Kavi. I know. I don't like it. I wish they didn't change it. I wish they would have given us the choice, They should have added that new countdown music as a secondary choice. I'm not a fan. So what else we got? Let me go through them quick. So hello, Tim Rubin. Hello, CJ. Hi, Kavi. Matching shirts. Well, yes, honey. You know, I'm Superboy. Tim is Superman. You never knew it, but we're revealing our secrets tonight. All the way from Las Vegas. Greetings to you, Jeff. What's going on? And it's not all about Superman, right? Says Cab. No, Cab. No, Cab. In fact, there's quite the irony in that statement. And when you watch on Rewind, you will quickly find out what the irony is. I won't even mention it. Be sure to watch. So, hey, Cab, Jeff, and JB. Hey, CJ. Hey, Marcus, TJ. Welcome from Kavi to Tim. There you go. And I hope that Ruben shows Timothy's Ditko ASM piece. There is a wonderful backstory to it. Well, why don't you just let me do the show first, Cab? And, you know, I'm the one choosing. Let me choose, okay? Just watch it on Rewind and you'll see if I did or not, okay? You know, for a guy who cannot stay here and watch live anymore, you sure are quite demanding. I'm kidding. Dwayne's a pain. Good to see you. What's going on? Yes, Cab, that ASM Pure Beauty. There you go. Hey, Cab, Tim's gallery is great. CJ, we know that. We know you left him a bunch of comments, so he's very appreciative, and so am I actually. So thank you, CJ. And yes, CJ's Cap gallery is wonderful and wonderfully varied. Yes, sir. And so is yours. You have similar taste that ways with the variation. Gabe Carino, good to see you. What's going on? And so we got nice sloth shirts. I don't even know what that means, Dwayne. Sloth shirts. I don't know. I don't get the joke. I don't know. It's gone over my head like they often do. The show always said N-E-R John. Another one that's gone over my head. I don't know what you're saying. Tim usually has the best Japanese movie poster gallery on CAF, says Rick.
Well, they're mini posters, actually, not full-on posters, but
close the live chat to see the thumbs up button. Oh, do you not see the thumbs up if you have the live chat open? I don't know. Oops, sorry about that link. Sorry, everyone. Then click the live chat to come back in. I don't know who you're directing those instructions to, though, Marcus. Nice eyeballs, Mr. Jason. And afraid I have to check out now. Do take care. Take care, Cap. Thank you so much. SGC, John, hello.
Live long and prosper.
That's exactly. And I can do that too. Not very well. It's kind of hard. Who's the biggest Superman fan in the hobby? Carl? I don't know. I think there's a few of us. And hi, Jason. Wow. A lot of people. Have a nice evening, Cav. You too. Okay. Bye-bye, Cav. Everybody's saying bye-bye. Tom Cruise is Jor-El. Hopefully not. Does Tim frame Stanley? So just so you know, Tim, Stanley is that guy who he loyally watches, but he loves when the shows go long and longer and longer. And right. He purposely, towards the end, as we're finally signing off, he purposely starts asking my guests questions, not because he really cares about the answer. It's his way of getting the show to stretch out even longer. But he's doing it this time before we get into your backstory. So feel free to answer that question. It's not one that will take long anyways. He wants to know, do you frame most of your art?
I used to frame a lot of it. These days, I don't frame it as much as I used to. I sometimes frame like the little sketches and commissions I get that are easy to frame, not too expensive.
There you go, Stanley. There you go. Will there also be art in the show, not in his gallery? Huh? Will there also be art in the show, not in his gallery? Yes, it's a show and tell episode, Sean. I don't know if that's supposed to be a joke, though. If it's a joke, it was a pretty bad one. So
I'm pretty sure I've got almost all of my art on CAF. So.
Oh, there you go. There you go. But no, it's a show and tell tonight. In case you weren't joking. Cab with a drive-by art spoilers. Exactly. Sloth is from the. Well, I know Sloth is the Goonies guy, but I still don't get the joke with this. We're not wearing Sloth shirts. You mean just because it's the letter S?
Oh, yes, he did have the Superman on shirt.
Oh, was he
at the very end? Yes.
Oh, okay. Wow. See, that's that. These guys have. I'm telling you, Tim. These guys have great memories when it comes to movies and picking out little details that certainly I would never remember. And they always throw these things at me, movie related. I'm like, what? Going over my head. And okay, so I apologize, Dwayne's a pain. Thank you. I just, yeah. You know me. I don't remember those kinds of details in movies. Hey, good evening, Caesar. Lovely to see you. It was how the Transformers pronounced Oh, that's what you were doing. Thank you, TJ.
Energon.
Energon. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Energon. Okay, so Energon. Thank you. Energon. Yeah, Energon, I guess. I first thought Energon, but yeah, Energon sounds better. Slosher. Yeah, thank you. X-Pair Soups fans. Stanley gets paid by the minute. Apparently so. Sean wasn't joking. I have never checked out a guest gallery during your shows, so didn't know if you just show gallery art or not. Yeah, I mean, I'm the one selecting the art for my shows, Sean. So the only way I can select the art is by having to go into their galleries. So the art has to be from their galleries, has to be in there already. And just so you know, the reason that I started the shows that way is because I felt like I wanted to be able to do a show and tells type show whereby, in order to make it easier and more enticing for collectors to want to be guests, I figured it would be easier and more enticing if I told them they had to do nothing to prepare in advance. And since, as you guys know, I've told you many times, the minimum it takes me to choose art is 2-3 hours. And in recent episodes, I've spent 15 hours just going through everybody's collection and doing the selecting and paring down the selections, blah, 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 blah. So it's just a way to not have my guests have to do any work, and just I have to tell them, listen, all you got to do is supply me a photograph of yourself and then show up. Don't forget to show up when you have to show up for the show. And that's it. So that's why, and that's the only way I can do the selecting. So there you go. And I hope you stick around, Sean. What is your, oh God, here he goes again. What is your favorite Superman and Superboy story? You know what, Stanley? You don't even know that Tim is a Superman and or Superboy fan. You're just making assumptions based on the graphic I created and the shirts we're wearing. But Tim, go ahead and answer that. Are you even a Superboy or Superman fan? Would you call yourself that?
Oh, sure. Superman was one of the earlier comic books I started to read when I started collecting comic books.
Mm-hmm.
I was basically influenced by Saturday morning cartoons. And if you were a Saturday morning cartoon, I kind of checked out your comic book at least at some point. So Superman, Batman, Teen Titans, Aquaman. Then Marvel had Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four on Saturday mornings. And so that was the stuff I kind of checked out early.
There you go, Stanley. Enough with the questions. We want to get into the show now. Save them for later.
And my favorite story, I guess the Man Who Had Everything, the Alan Moore story, is probably up there. When I was growing up, oh Jesus, what was the one where Superman was put on trial by the Guardians of the Galaxy? Do we really need a Superman or something like that? It was
What do you mean, Superman and Guardians of the Galaxy? That's Marvel and DC.
No, Green Lantern.
The Guardians of Oa?
Guardians of Oa. Sorry, yeah.
No,
so
that's fine.
Guardians of Oa put Superman on trial. Do we really need a Superman or something like that? It was
okay.
Good Kurt Swan, early 70s.
70s? Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That one was like, to 6-year-old me, it was like, what? Mind
you, when you're 6, everything's exciting in comics.
Yeah, true enough.
You get that early, But Sean wants to say he just checked out your gallery and he's definitely jealous. So there you go.
Well, thank you, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
He's a gentleman. I don't know if he's much of a scholar. But and Sean, just FYI, you sent me images for your appearance on your show and tell. You sent me images because you wanted me to choose from some of those extra images, but I believe it was a mix of those images plus me going into your gallery, as I recall. Why are you guys asking these weird questions? Thundar the Barbarian, Care Bears?
I remember Thundar the Barbarian.
But why
Saturday morning TV?
Shortcake, My Little Pony? Why are you guys asking this stuff? I don't understand what's wrong with you guys.
My Little Pony came after my time, I think.
That's definitely after your time. I mean, geez, I was a teenager, and I still consider that after my time. I was already way too old for that stuff. Maki Poo Poo, good to see you. What's going on, Michael? Was that a DC Comics Presents story? Oh, TJ's asking if that Guardians of Oa Superman story you're asking about. Do you remember? If it might
no, it was an early 70s Action Comics, or maybe I think it was Action Comics, maybe Superman. But not DC Comics Presents.
Look at this. Our friend Derek, known as the Professor because of his vast knowledge of comics. He remembers all these details about past comics. He says,
yes, must there be a Superman? Yes, of course.
Superman 247.
Superman 247.
Must there be a Superman? Fantastic, Derek, because now I want to go seek it out and read it. And that could be fun. That could be fun. I love it. Thanks, Derek. Awesome. That's what I love about you. Awesome. Keep confusing Ruben, everyone. Thanks, Stanley. Appreciate that. Appreciate the support. Next, Stanley will ask you what number is he thinking of. Exactly.
27.
Exactly. How's the weather? Says Stanley. There you go. Okay. All right, everybody. Let us get into the backstory portion of the show and tell with Tim. So yeah, Tim, and you know how this goes. If you don't mind giving us and I love your stories, but given that we have a kind of a hard time stop. I personally always prefer asking people to give us a little bit of backstory as to how they first discovered comics, and then how it led to ultimately discovering the artwork and collecting it. I'm just a little worried that, because I know you're verbose with your descriptions, which is fantastic, but
you're saying be pithy.
Yes. So it's up to you. If you want to touch upon the discovery of comic books as a child and then, skip forward to the art, that's great. If you think you can, do it in a decent amount of time without spending 40 minutes or whatever, that'd be great. Or you can jump to the art, how you discovered art right away, whatever you like. I'd like to hear as much as you want to share. So,
okay. Well, my origin story, I'm told, is that I used to demand that my father read a children's picture book story called Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. And he grew tired of it. And so one time, one of the cousins or somebody left a comic book at the house. And so Dad picked up the comic book and started reading the comic book to me. And apparently I became fascinated with comic books. So maybe around age 4, I started getting comic books when I would see them when we went to the local drugstore or whatever. And also, like I mentioned earlier, Saturday morning cartoons had a bunch of superhero related cartoons on Saturday mornings.
Right.
And I was fascinated by this. So eventually
do you not remember what that first comic was that he started to read to you instead of the No. Okay.
I don't even remember Winkin'. I've read Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod since then, but I really don't have a memory of loving Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod.
Oh, really? Isn't that funny the way our brains work when you think about it, that it was something that you apparently loved so much. Now, as a 4-year-old, obviously, our brains aren't very developed yet. So of course it's understandable. We don't remember much from that age. But given that people, you have your whole family saying, "Oh my God, Tim, you loved it. Your dad had to keep reading it to you over and over and over." You would think that, I would think that, okay, it's understandable you don't remember the story, let's say, but you would think that maybe you have a vague memory of your dad reading it to you all the time, but not even. Right?
No.
All right.
No, this is all things that have been told to me.
Right, so. Right. That's interesting. Okay. But from that point forward, your dad, it seems, was always very supportive of using comics to try to get you to sort of read and I suppose. And
yes, he was. In fact, he was a big comic book reader in his youth. He claimed to have had all Action Comics #1, Detective Comics #27, and he kept them all in a box under his bed. And then one time during the war, he came home and that box was gone because his mom put it out in the paper drive.
Oh,
and he never quite forgave her for that. I think from everything I've gathered, he never quite forgave her for that because those were his treasures. But
right. A story as old as time, as we know. Right. How many people have that same story, right? The mother threw them out, Yeah. So,
and he was a big Jack Kirby fan. So
yeah. Oh, that's
if you picked a certain artwork, I'll talk more about that. But
yeah. And by the way, just so you know, I am aware of a lot of the details of your background because I have read a lot of the descriptions in your gallery, and you give a lot of these stories in those descriptions, so it's pretty great. But even though I do know some of these details, I'm gonna, as the host of the show, I have to pretend I don't know so that everybody else can hear these great stories, So, it's tragedy, Stanley, but again, these things again.
It's a common story from the 40s.
It's a very common story. And, it's funny because I always like to remind people, especially, and you didn't say it, Tim, you didn't say that your dad had thought of it that way. But most people who had that happen to them typically say, "Oh, yeah, my gosh. And if it wasn't for that, I would have been rich and blah, blah, blah." And it's like, well, no, because if it wasn't for the fact that all those thousands upon thousands of mothers who threw out those collections, if it wasn't for them throwing them out,
they wouldn't be so rare. There were more comic
rare.
books published back in those days than you can imagine now. So
exactly, it wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. They wouldn't be so rare. They wouldn't be quite as valuable. Yeah, it wouldn't be such a big deal. So it's only because of those stories that keep being told over and over and over that the market is where it is. I'm starting to feel inadequate with the lack of background stories I put in my gallery posts. Really, Sean. See, Sean is one of those guys who I love. Sean, he's such a nice guy. But as a collector who likes to share, and I appreciate everybody who shares publicly, but he's one of those guys who shares the art and usually doesn't say a thing in the description. And that really gets my goat. I hate that.
He lets the art speak for itself.
And that's what a lot of guys in the hobby say. That's what a lot of them say. "Oh, yeah, what do I have to say anything? Let the art speak for it." Nah, we want to hear what you love about it. Why? What you love about it. I want to hear and read stuff. But anyway, Sean,
I was an English major. Also, I worked for a newspaper before I came to Japan. And yes, my nickname at the newspaper was Clark Kent.
Yay!
Hey, Clark Kent.
So there is a connection after all.
There is a connection. And I teach English as a foreign language now still. And my writing skills aren't what they used to be. But yeah, writing about artwork sometimes gives me a chance to stretch a few muscles that I don't use as much as I used to.
There you go. Okay, Tim. So from there, why don't we just fast forward and jump ahead to how the heck original art came into being in your life and how that ended up becoming something that you decided to dip your toes into, and then ended up becoming a something that you regularly collected for now decades, you know?
The guy at Heroes Aren't Hard to Find, his name's Shelton Drum, used to put on a bunch of mini cons back in the day. Before the Heroes Con became a huge thing, he would put on these little shows at Eastland Mall in Charlotte, North Carolina. And my dad found out about one, took me to one, and I found out about back issues where I could find stuff that I wanted to read. And well, it just sort of worked from there. That one time, I think it was Bob McLeod came and was the guest, and he drew a Batman sketch for me, and that was probably my first. Later in college, I went to Atlanta they had a big con down there, sci-fi and comic book convention. And
was that before Dragon Con, or was that Dragon Con?
You know, I'm not totally sure. Was it Dragon Con? Seemed like it had a different name, but I'm not totally sure.
Okay, no worries.
But it was huge. And I think I had met Gil Kane, but I didn't have any money because I couldn't afford to buy one of his sketches.
Yeah, was this?
But I went down to Atlanta and somebody had a Gil Kane Superman page, one of those marker pages.
Just so we keep the timeline, I like to know the timeline and your age at which everything happened. Was this pre or post college?
This was right. This was probably right as I was starting college. I was 18 years old.
Okay.
So before that, I was like somewhere between 12 and I got a few sketches from different artists, but I think Bob McLeod was one of the few where I actually had money to put down he wasn't that expensive or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then I bought the first panel page I bought was probably a Gil Kane Action Comics page. No, it was from the DC Comics Presents, which was the crossover with Shazam, because he was fighting.
Is that the one that's in your gallery? You have a Gil Kane.
Yes.
Okay, the one with the where you use the markers that faded in certain areas.
Yes.
Okay, that's the one. Okay, that's a DC Presents. I don't remember.
That's a DC Comic Presents annual, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyway, It was Superman and Shazam, and he was fighting Captain Savannah, I think, on that page, and it was like $20. I was like, well, that's a lot of money, but okay. I wasn't able to get that sketch from Gil Kane, so I'm going to buy this page that Gil Kane drew, because Gil Kane was one of the first artists I was able to recognize. Did Timothy ever miss out on sketches because the artist didn't show up?
Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that.
It's an inside joke between him and I. That's all.
and then this one will be important to you later. At another, Bissette and Totleben came to town one time.
Ooh,
and this was while I was still in college. And I take that back. It was before I met Bissette and Totleben. I bought the page first. Somebody came, and it was right after I fell in love with Saga of the Swamp Thing by Alan Moore and Bissette and Totleben. And somebody had a Bissette and Totleben page, and they wanted like $100 for it. And that's basically what I was living off of for maybe a month and a half at that point. But somehow I went and I've got to get this page. And I got it and I framed it, and it was on my wall for years and years and years until someone I know took it from me.
Took it from you?
Traded it. There was a trade involved. Let's say that.
Don't worry. That story will come out very shortly. It'll come out. I have to purge myself.
For some reason, I thought perhaps that would be the case.
Yes, I have to purge myself.
Anyway,
memory.
Let me. In 1990, I I had been working at a newspaper, but then in 1990, I moved to Japan to be on the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program, where I would come and teach conversational English to high school students in high schools with Japanese teachers. So I was assisting them, and ended up staying on that for 3 years. Went back home briefly, but then somebody Tim, come back. We want you to do this.
Right.
And I was kind of cute on this one person that I had met. So I'm like, okay, yeah, let me go back and see if this works out. And I went back to Japan, got married eventually.
I was gonna say, Tim, is that one person that you cued in on? Was that the person who later became your wife, or is that?
Yes, that
Okay.
was that person later became my wife.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we got married in 1997, and then my mother said to me, "Okay, you've got all these comic books at home. Get rid of them because I don't want them." So I contacted Shelton Drum, and I was like, "Well, I want this much money." He's like, "Well, I'll give you this much money."
Right.
And I said, "Okay, well, if you give me this much money, give me some of that artwork."
It was your suggestion?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was him saying to you, like, well, I can't go any higher, but look, how about I throw in this?
He just said, "I can't go any higher." And
Right.
I'm like, "Well, what about if I traded you some comics?" I'm like, "I'm getting rid of the comics."
Right. Like, I don't need more. Like, what are you talking about?
I don't need more.
Right.
I get trade paperbacks now to read.
Yeah.
Now I'm just digital pretty much. I read digital comics now, but
That's
not
what
quite the same, but not quite the same, but it gets the job done.
Yeah, for sure. I got to move into that myself, and I've been saying it for years, but I do because I have no more space for.
That's it. I don't. There's space. And
so
where was I? Anyway.
So you got how many pieces of art did you get in that deal along with the cash for the comic collection? 3 pieces. Okay. I
got 3 pieces. Okay. One was a Doom Patrol page from the Grant Morrison run, which was the least of it, but I loved Doom Patrol at that time. So that was like, yeah, I'll take, yeah. And well, I'm like, I want a Kirby. No, you can't have any Kirby. Well, I've got this Ditko page. How about that? It's a Spider-Man page, but it doesn't have Spider-Man on it. It's got Peter Parker, Aunt May, J. Jonah Jameson, Betty Brant. Sold.
Tim, I cannot believe, honestly, I did not expect to hear those words come out of your mouth. I would not have expected out of the 3 pieces that you got in that deal for one of them to have been the Ditko Spider-Man page. What?
I said, man, well, how about Ditko?
Oh my God.
I've got a Ditko page that I
Wow.
And the other one, and the final piece was, and he said, if you look on eBay at how well these pages are going, I think you'll be very pleased by what it is. And like, I've got this Frank Miller Daredevil page.
What? That was
it's a deal. Maybe throw in some other stuff later. We'll figure it out.
I cannot. Oh my! I'm so glad I asked you because I wasn't planning on asking what those 3 pieces would have been. I didn't expect them to be like. Oh my. That's crazy. That's crazy. I would have expected all 3 to be on the level of the Doom Patrol page. You know, like those other 2. That's insane. Oh my gosh! Wow.
I had some good comic books in there. Come on.
I don't know that. I don't know.
I had an FF1 in there, and he wanted that really bad.
Okay, I didn't see. That's the thing. I never asked you what kind of quality the comics were. I didn't know. You know,
there were some good comic books in there. There were.
Okay. Out of curiosity, because this goes back to the mid and late 90s. Would you mind sharing? And because this doesn't really say much since nobody knows really what was in your collection or whatever. But would you mind sharing? I'm curious. Like what you got in cash for the collection back then, would that have gone into the 5 figures, or was this just a 4-figure?
No. It did not go to the 5 figures. It went to the 4 figures.
4 figures. Okay.
That was one of the reasons I said I wanted the art, because like I really wanted more than what he was offering.
Yeah. But look at all these years later, because you're a buy and hold type of guy. 2 out of those 3 pages are 5 figure sums alone, probably by themselves. One, you know what I mean? Like that's amazing. So
I'm still unclear as to what their actual value is, but 5 figures is.
Yeah. We can discuss it privately after if we finish in time, and I still have a few minutes with you. But that's fantastic. And so at that point, you dumped it all. Shelton got all that stuff. You got your cash and your 3 pieces of art. You go back to Japan. You're married. And at what point does you have one child?
Yes. Well, in 2000.
It's a new millennium, baby.
So we had about 3 years.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, wow. It's a son?
No, I have a daughter.
A little girl? So your little girl is already a quarter of a century years old?
Yeah.
Wow. She might even be close to being married.
No, I do not talk about other people in the household on social media. So that's a hard and fast rule.
I understand. No worries. But okay, fantastic. So we know how that all worked out. And from that point forward, at what point
I discovered eBay.
Okay, like a lot of us, right? So you discovered eBay, and that was eBay basically the thing that got you to like, oh, okay, you grabbed the piece, and then from there it was kind of that was the beginning of the end, essentially for.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. Yeah.
Okay.
It sort of incrementally escalated, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Ruben, the deal shamer. What are you talking about, TJ? I'm saying he got some great stuff. In the end, TJ, Tim came out way ahead because he's a buy and hold guy, whereas Shelton had to resell those comics ASAP. So all these years later, Tim comes out way ahead. So that's fantastic.
Because I held on to him for so long.
Yeah, exactly. Ruben the Anderson Cooper. All right, guys. First of all, there was no professional grading, Marcus, back then, as you know. It hadn't started for another few years after he made that sale.
No, it was a good copy.
But okay. Good as in
good copy.
Good as in nice, or good as in the bottom of the scale of the near mint down to good?
Well, there's below good, but yeah, it was a solid copy.
Okay. Okay. But considered solid, but in low grade? Or mid grade, maybe?
Probably mid grade. I
I
really don't keep up with grading because it's just not my
okay,
jam. But yeah.
Okay. But an easier way to say it is I'm assuming you would have remembered if this thing was high grade, right? Like
it wasn't anywhere close to near mint. So it wasn't like an 8. It was probably 5 or 4 or something like that.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Kavya wants to let you know. Great origin. Yeah, it's
thank you, sir.
Very different. Yeah. Good as in 3.0. Exactly. Okay, excellent. No, that's good. And Caesar says quarter of a century. Why not just say 25? Because Caesar, it always blows my mind as I get older, like when time seems to, the older we get, at least I'll speak for myself, time seems to pass even faster than ever. With every successive decade that has passed, I feel the last decade passed really faster than the previous one. And so it blows my mind to think 25 years goes by and, oh my God, that's a quarter of a century. That's why I say it that way sometimes, right? I'm sorry you have a problem with that. One score in 5 years ago. That is true. That's 25 as well. Very good, Marcus. Many moons, some people say. Exactly, Rick. Exactly. They all work. But okay, so no, that's good enough. Tim, I think that gets us to where you began, and it kind of, eBay takes you along for the ride, and you just get carried away, and here we are today, all these years later, right? So very well said. Okay, well, I appreciate you sharing that backstory with us. That's very nice.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you. And for those of you who want to learn more about Tim's backstory in greater detail, I can only, again, suggest spending some time in his gallery and just looking at all the art. You're going to, if you take the time to read the descriptions that he adds, you'll learn a lot about his background and how a lot of these things came to be. So he includes them all in the description. So it's very, very, very fun for those of us who are interested in these sorts of details. So 2 bits of years. Many years
ago. Of years. I have never heard that one. I've never heard 2 bits of years.
Neither have I.
Shave and a haircut, 2 bits, but
many years ago, many years from now, it's all relative. Yes, it is. Okay. So yeah, let's get in. So, sorry, what did you say, Tim?
Is a bit 25 cents?
A bit. So yeah, because 2 bits is 50 cents, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah. So I
think works.
Yeah, exactly. In a galaxy far, far away. Exactly. There you go.
He feels like far, far away.
So yeah, Tim, are you ready to get into the show and tell portion of the actual show and tell episode?
You control the vertical, you control the horizontal.
And the horizontal. There we go. Okay, excellent. Great show, by the way. I binged it just a few years back. I was like, oh yeah, because I never used to watch it as a child, on reruns. And then several years ago,
I went through a phase where if I didn't catch all of them.
Yeah, I did. I managed to get my hands on all of them.
I tried to watch as many as I could. Same with Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah. Well, but that is what we're talking about. That's the. No.
The Outer Limits was the vertical and the horizontal. We control the horizontal. That was Outer Limits.
Oh, that's Outer Limits, right? Sorry, right. Sorry, that's right. Yeah, sorry. I meant to say I ended up binging Twilight Zone. Yeah. So, yeah, that was fun. That was fun stuff.
And occasionally you could even One Step Beyond or something like that. So there was all these
lesser ones that aren't as well known.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I stuck with Twilight Zone. Not Twilight the movies, Marcus. Just to be clear. Although I did watch the first one, Marcus. I watched the first one. I watched the first Twilight, and it just wasn't for me. I didn't, not like it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't really good either. I was like, it's not for me. It's more like for younger teenagers or something. I don't know. Wasn't very excited. Yes, Robert Pattinson, Twilight. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
I saw that.
Team Edward. You watched it?
But it was one of the MST3K spin-off shows.
MSK? What's that?
Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh, okay. I never saw that. I never watched that.
You missed out on.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Oh. Okay.
If you were a nerd of a certain mindset, then yeah, you probably missed out. It was a brilliant concept for watching old movies.
Oh, okay. I'll take your word for it. Can't get into the art that fast. Exactly. Copy, relax. It's 50 minutes. We're gonna do
We're relaxed. We're doing all right.
Don't worry. Yeah, we're all good here. Everything's chill. But in all seriousness,
there's really not a hard cap on the time exactly. So.
Yeah. No. We're doing good. We're doing good. But are you ready to get in and talk to us?
Let's do it.
Art? All right, let's do this. Let me queue up these first images here, everybody, and this way we'll start the show. So that Dan, bootlegging is a habit. He'll come in, and once again, he'll be wondering, wow, why you guys got into the art so soon? It's not even 10 o'clock yet. Let me see. Okay, what do we got? Yes. Well, we're gonna get a certain something out of the way. Story that I'm involved in.
Okay, we're gonna do that first. Okay.
Yeah, I figured that. Let's just do that and get my pain out of the way. Caesar quickly wants to know, though, is going to delay us. Any comic art shops in Tokyo? Not that you've mentioned where in Japan you are, Tim, or that you want to. I don't know if you want to, but
I'm in a place called Niigata Prefecture, which is on the west
Prefecture.
coast side of.
Okay.
Sort of in the middle.
Okay.
Of the main island of Honshu.
Okay, thank you. I don't
Japan
imagine
is made up, of course, of various islands. The main island is called Honshu, and
right.
I'm on the Sea of Japan side, right in the middle.
Okay, I assume the answer is no. No comic art shops. Maybe some.
There's a place called Mandarake.
Mandarake. That's they have
They run auctions and stuff like that.
Right.
That you may have seen.
Right. Yeah.
They also have shops, but they're not they have old manga. You can find old manga there. You can find movie posters there. And sometimes you can find art there. Okay.
But manga type art?
Yeah, usually manga type art. Hey, Tom. Occasionally they might have a Western piece of.
Okay.
But
Clayton Crane's dad's art, perhaps more inside jokes. He could have had more inside jokes. Okay. So yeah, no, let's Mike Asbill, what's up, Mike? Good to see you. Anime Morsel, he's asking.
Oh yeah, there was sure they had anime cells for sale. I even bought a bunch of anime cells and gave them away as presents a long time ago. I didn't really keep any of them.
Okay.
Because they were really cheap back then. Like I could pick them up for like $5 or whatever.
Marcus
is asking, this is cool.
Marcus is asking, are those stores the source of your Marvel Universe movie posters?
Oh, the Japanese posters? No.
No.
Those are just free. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
Sure. No worries. Yeah, you jokers. Enough with the inside jokes. Enough with the inside. Cut those out. You're confusing Tim, you know. You need some solo leveling cells. This
is what they are. That they give them out free to advertise the movies.
They're smaller.
Have explanations on the back and things like that. So
are these
it lets you know when the movie's coming out. So they're mini posters. They're not full on posters. So I picked these up for free, and I just think they're kind of cool. I used to give them away as gifts because.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, Tim. I wondered, given how small they were, I thought, are these giveaways not things that you have to purchase? You know,
they are giveaways. They are not. You do not purchase them.
Yeah, that's
you have to. You get them at the theaters.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what Marcus is asking. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Oh, well, thank you.
But there are places that sell vintage ones, and they probably do have some of these, but they also had like full-size movie posters at Mandarake. I remember thinking, should I get that? And but I don't have any place to put it. And
yeah.
Anyway.
By the way, I guess I should have asked you earlier, but we'll get it out of the way now. Given how long that you've been in Japan and you went there to teach English as a second language, did you ultimately, after all these decades there, did you ultimately end up learning how to speak Japanese?
I can speak Japanese a little.
Oh, okay.
I'm not great at it. I rely far too much on my wife. But
would you say it's the equivalent of you can converse, but it's obvious that you speak in broken Japanese? Is that how it?
Sure.
Okay. But still, you can converse, even though it's broken Japanese. But people will know what you're trying to say, the point you're trying to get across. Okay. Well, that's good. At least it's
moral. Not always. It depends on how difficult the subject is.
Right. But still, it's something. It's better than nothing, you know. So, Ruben has a place behind him to frame and hang a signed OAX poster. Oh, whatever, Marcus. Okay, so let's get into this. And the first piece in tonight's show and tell is this amazing piece. Check it out, everybody. V for Vendetta from issue number 5. It's the second page with a couple of fabulous images of V himself. Oh my gosh. Oh, how I would love to have this page. Tim, talk to us a little bit about this.
Well, I got this from this crazy guy in Canada, I think.
I don't know who that is.
I think his name was Ruben.
Oh, I don't know. My name's Superboy. I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, this Ruben guy had this, and he had a price on it that was just outrageous for me at that point in time. It was like $2,500.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can't do that, but I really want a V page. And I had some things that, well, let's see if he wants to trade. And I had a very nice Bissette and Totleben Swamp Thing page that I had picked up when I was in university. And we worked out a trade through that.
Yes. Yes. And okay, should you want me to take over now, Tim?
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay. So guys, let me just come back to you real quick. Okay. So Tim was interested in the V page. I loved my V page. And I thought, he at the time, this was at a time when I was still selling art full time, and I had no other source of revenue. So for me, it was hard. At times, I had to let go of things I didn't want to let go of. And so this V page was one of those things. And so, I put it up, made it available. As Tim said, he didn't have the money, but he thought, okay, maybe he could trade his way into it. So I thought, make a long story short, I thought, well, if he's got something that I want, sure, maybe we can sort of, do a trade. And I thought, okay, Alan Moore, what if I were to get, and I looked at what Tim had, and I said, what if I were to get like a Swamp Thing page? Because you guys may remember, Swamp Thing, and in particular, the first 20 issues of the Alan Moore run, it's my favorite Alan Moore stuff of all time, some of my favorite comics by any writer, artist team of all time. And I thought if I could get one of those, like a really good page, then yeah, that would be cool. Then, because I always live by that motto of, sometimes you gotta give up something great to get something great. So I figured, okay, that'd be a good thing to do. What you're getting in, it makes up for what the sorrow you feel of what you're giving up. And so we came to the agreement. We did the deal. There was another piece involved, but
it was a Gil Kane undersea agent page.
Undersea agent page, right?
Which is what I when you okay. No. You keep talking.
Okay, so I was going to say, right. So I got Gil Kane undersea whatchamacallit page. And it's with that creature that was the beginnings of his design for the Abomination at Marvel.
Yeah, it looked very similar to Abomination.
Exactly.
Which is one of the reasons I snapped it up.
Right. And even though I love Gil Kane, but the idea was, well, I want to keep the Swamp Thing page, but this is my only source of income. I've got to get some money out of this deal. So I said, okay, that was the smaller page in terms of value of the deal. So I did sell off the Gil Kane page, and I kept the Swamp Thing page. So now Tim had the V, and I had the Swamp Thing page, and I was really happy. And, some time passed. And then one day, I was heavy into collecting this stuff that you see behind me, as well as the comic art. And one of my all-time favorite pieces had come up, and I was like, oh my God, but I don't have money. It's expensive. It's many, many thousands of dollars. I was like, how do I got to raise the money? And you guys know, most of you know how these things work. You want to get rid of the stuff that means less, least to you, it's least meaningful to you, but you know that when you need to raise money quickly, the only way to really do it is by offering the stuff that means most to you and that is worth more, financially speaking. That's the easiest stuff to move and find buyers for. So I looked at my Swamp Thing page and I was like, I'm not getting rid of that one. But then as I was going through all my stuff to see what else could I move, it dawned on me. I was like, wait a second. There was a guy a year ago that had expressed interest in my Swamp Thing page, and he was a local guy, which was interesting because to me, and I've said this many times before on the show, like there's maybe a handful of us. I live in a pretty populated city in Montreal. There's almost nobody that collects art here. And so it's shocking that this guy was in Montreal and he was like a lawyer. He was an attorney. And he had approached me a year earlier saying, oh, I would love to get a Swamp Thing Alan Moore page. I'm not really an art collector. I'm just trying to get one piece from every comic book that I really, really love. And so I thought to myself, all right, I know that I've had friends and acquaintances in the hobby do this. I said, what if I could swing it where I can reach out to him, I'll sell him the Swamp Thing page, given that he's local and he's a guy who doesn't really want to, he just wants a few pieces for, permanent collection. He's not going to collect regularly. And I'll sell it to him. And because he's close to me, I'll make sure I let him know. If for any reason you ever need to part with this, just reach out to me. I will buy it back at whatever market value, and that's it. And I'm like, that way I get the money I need now. I can do it quickly. I guarantee that I get what I'm looking to buy now. Plus I can, the Swamp Thing is nearby and I felt confident I could get it back if it ever went anywhere. Next thing I know, I don't know if it was like a year or 2 or 3 after I had acquired it from Tim, I suddenly am looking at the heritage auctions and I see my Swamp Thing page there. I was like, no. It never for a moment, when I did the deal, it never for a moment occurred to me that the guy wouldn't reach out to me, since I made it clear that, hey, when I said I'll buy it back from you if you ever part with it, I don't mean at refunding your money. I mean at whatever market value it is, So I never thought, I figure Montreal, it's so much easier to just contact me and say, hey, you got some cash? I'm willing to sell this again. And let's meet together downtown. And here you go. Here's the cash. Give me the page. Boom. It never occurred to me that he would not do that. That's how I learned that lesson the hard way. And I never did any of those, that type of deal ever again. But yeah, I learned the hard way. Now, everybody, to put me out of my misery, I want you to see the page that Tim had traded to me because I loved it. I loved it. It had pretty much everything I wanted in a Swamp Thing page from the first half of the Alan Moore era.
It's from the Arcane arc.
Here, I'll get, I know I've missed a bunch of your comments, and I'll get to it in a second. I'll start posting all your comments once I pop this up. But yeah, here we go. Check this out. So this is what I traded as a reminder. The V for Vendetta page, very beautiful. I love it. Some great V images on there. And then what I got in return was this. So Swamp Thing, with all that great detail, the swampy detail on his body, on his back. I love that. You get an extreme close-up of his face, so that's cool. And it has Abby. That's also really cool. And for me, you guys have heard me say this before, I like art that has romantic scenes. And so that made it even cooler. And so, yeah, for me, this was just, the perfect kind of page I wanted. I was very, very satisfied with it. But like I said, it just, I did something that I really did think I was being clever. I admit. Okay. More for more. Yes, exactly. More for more. I admit I did really think I was being clever. And I really truly did believe that if this Swamp Thing page moved again, I not even for a second did I doubt I would own it again. I truly, truly believed in my heart that I just set the deal up in such a way that I'd get it back if it ever needed to leave that guy's collection. I really, really, truly believed it in my heart. And yeah, unfortunately, that's how I learned the hard way that, no matter how much effort you put into, the details of these trades at times, they don't always go according to plan. And sadly, they also, you learn that people, even though they give you their word, it doesn't mean that they're going to keep their word, unfortunately, And so, you guys are really letting me have it there. I know. But yeah, that's how I learned a few lessons and a lot of schmeckles, Stingray. And yeah, I mean, this is how I learned that, yeah, it's, when you really want to, if you want to get something and raise money, don't, no matter what, under any circumstances, never, ever, ever, as tempting as it is, because it's easier to raise money that way. I really strongly will suggest to all of you, don't, resist the temptation to use your favorite pieces, even if you think that you can get them back in the future.
I think that's the thing. You should just rid yourself of the idea that you'll be able to get it back in the future.
Exactly.
If you're trading it or selling it, you may get it back in the future if things work out, but chances are no.
Hey, Sean. Happy is the best. Yeah. Wow.
Now, I was unhappy when I found out you sold it.
Well, I can imagine. And I Tim,
was especially when I found out how much you sold it for. But
and you know what, Tim? Well. Listen, hold on. Let me come back.
Hey, I've done the same thing now, so I have no leg to stand on. So,
hold on. Let me come back to you. Now, remember when I had kept it for what, I don't know if it was, like, again, a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. I can't remember now. But so at the time, I looked at it as the Kane page was like the cheaper bonus that gets me.
That was what I was like. I gave him. He sold it for this, and I gave him the Kane page. Ugh. Now I don't think that, but at the time I thought that.
Right. Well, that's the thing, that at the time, when you're dealing with people, like, I can't spend my time teaching, every detail of how I think and how I'm doing the valuations.
Oh, no.
And I'm aware that people don't always get it and they think of it their way. And, I get that.
I was also new to the hobby. So,
but that's the thing, is that, like, when it happened, I was like, oh man, Tim's going to see this. He's going to be so upset. And I felt so horrible of how it happened that I was shamed. I felt so much shame because suddenly I was like, stupid idiot I was, right? I thought I was so clever. And then in that moment, I realized I'm such an idiot. Like, why would I have convinced myself that I had it all worked out? And that was the thing. At the time,
that's just it. We were inexperienced. Even you were more experienced than me, but even you were like thinking, okay, I can manage this situation.
Right.
And sometimes it just gets out ahead of you and it doesn't work out.
Exactly. And exactly. So that was the thing. And that was the thing, though, Tim, is at the time, I felt so much shame of how stupid I felt for thinking I knew what I was doing with that trade, and I didn't, that I couldn't bear to reach out to you to say, oh God, Tim, you know what happened? You're not going to believe this. Because I figured best to keep my shame to myself than to seek you out, share the shame, and also probably anger you. You right? So I felt like if I say nothing, at least there's a chance Tim might not be aware of what's going on. He may not have seen the page out there hitting the market, and who knows? Maybe he'll never know, and no pain for him or whatever. That's what
I followed it to the next guy, and then it ended up in Mandel's collection.
Did it?
And then Mandel sold it. It's been off calf since then. So I put the page back on my calf. I put it on the V. If you want to see the Swamp Thing page on calf, you can look at my V page, and it's in the extra images.
Yeah.
When it was on calf, I didn't have it. I think that's kind of but since it's not on calf anymore, I thought, like, I don't have a picture of the Gil Kane page because that is still on calf, or at least it was last time I checked. So I'm not going to put that on my page, but
I haven't seen it in a long time myself, but maybe, I haven't specifically looked for it. But to be honest, Tim, after that first time when I saw the guy I had sold it to locally,
right,
when I saw that he had sent it into Heritage, I actually didn't see it ever again after that. So it's only you who is telling me that, it resold once or twice after that. I wasn't even aware of that.
So yeah, at first it went into, I think it was Mandel's collection. And then he sold it and it disappeared off calf, or I haven't seen it since. I sometimes miss stuff when it comes around. So
that's right. These guys are right. Look, live and learn. It is what it is. That's true. That's true. Ruben and the Wasted Grail. Yeah. Oh God, I would love that. Just if I could have it back now.
No, I did not buy it in auction, though.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, JT. You learn most guys are just users to get what they want. Listen, I can't say that either, though, Tom, because I never reached out to the local guy to ask him, like, who am I to say, hey, you said you would get back to me, because it's not like we had a written contract, right? So people are allowed to do what they want to, and it is what it is. So I was upset, but yeah, I also didn't feel like, he gave me his word, but it's not a legal binding thing. So I just figured, who am I to tell him off? Like, what am I going to do? Reach out to him to tell him off? No, that's not my right either, So thanks, Kavi. Yeah, exactly. Hold it over me. Yeah, exactly. Find that piece and hold it over me.
For my part, I kept the V page.
Yes, you exactly. At least you still have the V page. That's fantastic. The guy you sold it to got rigged from it and was able to move far away from Ruben. How long ago was this? Oh my gosh. I don't know, like 2010, like 15 years at least. It was ages ago. Watch the latest Comics Den video. Oh, right. What's the deal with the lead? Yeah, then, okay. Anyways, I feel terrible. So on my part, sorry for how it all went down, Tim. And
it's been years, so you should kind of.
One of those things. It's just certain things I never get over, and every now and then, as I flip through thousands.
I totally understand that. There are some things I still sort of.
Yeah, and in particular because of the way that it happened, and because of the fact, like all the details, the fact that I loved V, and in fact, what I loved about our trade was it was so perfect. Like I'm one of those people. I've told this story before. I actually have had overall crappy experiences more so than good ones with trading. And so this was so fantastic, so perfect, I felt, because it was like, not only was I getting a page from my favorite Alan Moore era of comics, but I had to give away something else that I loved. And in fact, V is my second favorite Alan Moore comic book work, So that's why it felt like, oh my gosh, okay, I gave up. I'm giving up this great page from my second all-time favorite Alan Moore work, but I'm getting a page from my first favorite. So it's, give up something great to get something great. So it's like equal, But so that's why it's that made me rue what happened ultimately in the end, because it seemed so perfect. And then again, me being a smarty pants, thinking I had it all figured out. Oh, this is going to work out great. No worries. I'll get that page back. Tim will be the wiser. I'll get it back probably in a few years. I'm sure he'll probably want to let it go and whatever. And so that's why it really hurts, because it was so perfect. It just seemed perfect. But whatever. But anyways, thank you for allowing that, everybody. I had to, I guess, exercise that demon, and this is the first time that Tim is even hearing my side of the situation, of how it all went down and why I parted with it. It wasn't because
I had heard that you thought I was mad at you.
No, who would have told you that?
The guy that you sold it to.
Oh, it's I would understand that he would think that, because I had said to him, hey, let me know. Remember, let me know if you ever part with it. And obviously, if he doesn't let me know and says, you know what, I think I'll take my chances at Heritage, right? I could see how he would think, ooh, Ruben might be mad at me now because I never reached out to him, But yeah, whatever. Things happen the way they happen. Like I say, water under the bridge. It's been a long time. So I'm not, I have no ill will towards him. It happened how it happened. I'm happy that you still have the V, and that's what matters. And that's it. I know. Thank you. I do need some therapy now, Copy. I missed the story. Tell it again. Yeah, right. Sunday night therapy session. Exactly. But okay, everybody, let's get back into this so we don't lose time. And did the guy make money on Heritage? I honestly, Marcus, I don't even recall what it sold for when he sold it on. I don't remember none of those details. I was so distraught that it ended up on Heritage rather than him calling me. I was so distraught. It's been a long time, so maybe I was even angry at the time. I don't remember. But I was definitely distraught. And so I didn't care. I mean, I probably watched the auction, but I guess because I'm so, all these years later, I'm so worked up about never being able to have gotten it back. I guess I blocked it out of my memory. I don't know what it sold for. And like I said earlier, Tim says it sold another couple of times after that. I don't even remember. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. And maybe it's for the best, because again, it makes me get all worked up, and that's it, for the worse, not for the better. So why didn't you bid on it with Heritage? Like I said, I don't remember what I was thinking at the time, Rick, but I think probably because I was pissed. I think I probably was so pissed at the time. I probably was upset, distraught, and angry that I was just like, well, screw that guy. Screw it. I'm not gonna bid on that now. Whatever. I hope it goes for less than that. I probably was thinking, I hope it goes for less than he paid for it, so he loses money. I was probably thinking that. I don't mind admitting. I was probably thinking something like that. And that's it. By staying out of the bidding, I know I don't get it, but at least I know that, hey, it'll go for less. He loses money, and hopefully he learns a lesson, So that's probably what I was thinking. I don't know. Like I said, it was so long ago now. It doesn't sound like anyone followed the 10 year. Oh, yeah, right.
10-year rule. Okay.
Right. The hold on. Yeah, buy and hold. Yeah, exactly. V for vindictive. Yeah, thanks. But anyways, guys, thank you. Thank you for letting me get that off my chest. It's out there now, and Tim, what how it really happened on my end, and I apologize. I didn't mean to sell it. It wasn't a thing where, because I knew also, one last thing. I also, another part of the reason I didn't want to reach out to tell you was also because I felt like, man, he's not gonna, whatever I tell him, he probably won't even believe it, because of the fact that at the time I was like dealing art full time. I figured, whatever I say, Tim's just gonna figure, oh no, he really took it in trade, not for his collection. He probably intended to sell it eventually all along, and he gave me whatever story he gave me just to to get the deal done. I figured you'd probably believe that anyways. I'm like, okay, there's no point to reach out to you. It's just you'll believe what he believes and whatever, so I just said, nah.
I think he got married and he was building a house and he had to sell the art to sort of for the down payment or something.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it. So much for the hard stop on time. No, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. I can't remember Swamp Thing.
I did something equally foolish at some point, so
we all did. 17 years ago for 3 Ghost Rider pages, and I regret it also. That's what I mean, Sean. It happens, right? It happens. Ruben the Sweet Talker. Yeah, right. But okay, let's get back into the show and tell, everybody, and we'll move on to the next piece. But yeah, great V page. I'm glad you still have it for sure, Tim. So that's really awesome. And okay, so from there, we're gonna go to I had to do this. I had to show very hard, by the way, Tim. To so you know, a typical show and tell episode, I picked 20 pieces, and so it's difficult to get an overview of somebody's entire collection with 20 pieces, right? So the hard choices have to be made. Certain things that the collector expects to see me have chosen, I sometimes don't choose. It happens, But I wanted to choose this next piece. Actually, it's two pieces. I put two pieces on the same slide. And because I know that you living in Japan for so long, I figured I wanted to show something that's kind of ties into that. So check this out, everybody. Here we go. Slide number 2. Brave Raideen and Go Nagai's Devilman, both by Mitsuru Hiruta, from circa 76 on the first one, and I imagined 70s on the one on the right, but Tim, I'm not sure because your post didn't indicate anything in terms of the time on that one. So I took a guess. It looks very similarly timed, though.
Yeah, it's from the 70s, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
The Devilman piece, I got both of these from Mandatake. So that's
Okay.
how. So since I mentioned that earlier.
Okay.
I thought the Devilman was actually Go Nagai when I was looking at it and found out it was Mitsuru Hiruta. But anyway, Hiruta was a protege of Go Nagai, and he worked on there was a Devilman animation TV show, and Hiruta worked on the manga version of the animated TV show version of the Devilman comic, which was much more kid friendly than the actual Go Nagai Devilman comic book.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It was more superheroic and kid friendly, and Go Nagai's Devilman was actually it had some pretty rough stuff in it, but it was still for like junior high school kids and stuff like that, but it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
The Brave Raideen, this is an advertisement, if I recall, for the last episode, or the last
of the animated show?
Of the animated comic. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it was also there was a TV show that it was based on, and
right. Rick wants to know, Tim, did you acquire these while in Japan?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay. Rick, just FYI, you might have missed it, but Tim basically has been in Japan since 1990, barring a short amount of time in there, Yeah. So, his whole, pretty much most of his art collecting has happened in the time that he's been in Japan. So you can imagine most of his stuff that we'll see is everything he collected while he's been buying from the land of the rising sun. Yeah.
The Brave Raideen piece was something I really liked because when I was young, I used to buy the Herb Trimpe Shogun Warriors.
Oh, the Shogun Warriors. Oh, okay. So you were already a fan.
And he was one of the characters.
Yeah. Yeah. I always wondered about that. Like, was it that Marvel reached out and like paid for the rights to bring that character into Shogun Warriors?
Yeah.
Really?
They used to do a lot of stuff with toys. I mean, Micronauts was a toy, ROM was a toy. And these were toys. And so Marvel reached out and said, hey, we can make a comic book out of this.
Right. But the thing is that the other two members of Shogun Warriors, weren't they just originally created by the Marvel? Oh,
no, they were also Japanese characters. Yeah.
Really? Oh, I was not aware of that. Okay. The
Brave Raideen was probably the most popular one, though. I can't remember what the other two were called, actually, off the top of my head.
That explains a lot. I always thought that it was just the one out of the three characters that was licensed. Okay. That tells
they were all licensed, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. No, I'll take your word for it. Alonso Collectibles in the house. Good evening to you, my friend. ROM, Marvel's ROM, but that was the toy. toy first, then comic. Tom loves Shogun Warriors figures. Funny, I never saw them. I don't know if they ever came to Canada, but I have no memories of ever seeing Shogun Warrior. And for that matter, ROM. I never saw ROM toys here in Canada either. So.
I don't think there was a ROM toy. I think it was a prototype, and it never.
No, there was a toy.
There was. I thought it was just a prototype, and it never actually made it to the.
Oh, it made it. I know there's some guys in our hobby who have told me that. I used to have the ROM toy. Yeah. So. Yeah, exactly.
The Shogun Warriors stuff. They actually had some crossover with Godzilla because I think they had a Godzilla and a Rodan toy and stuff like that. By the way, Rodan in Japanese is Radon. So
okay,
I don't know why that got switched, but it did.
Yeah, but that's it. Yeah, Kambatra. That's what Kambatra, and then although I'm sure there's a different name in Japan, and then Dangar.
That sounds probably Kambatra. Probably that sounds Japanese enough.
Vanguard Ace, though, because Vanguard Ace.
Vanguard Ace.
Yeah, remember?
That's it. Yes.
Yeah. So that had to be totally different than Japanese, I would think. Oh, look at that. Mark V's in the house. He loves Japan too. Been there many times. And he
would have just. The only difference probably is that it's katakana-ized. So,
okay.
Dangado Esu.
Okay.
So, it just comes out like that.
Thanks, Tom. Milton Bradley made the ROM toy. Okay. Yeah. Derek says they did a swap. Japanese Spider-Man live action and then Marvel. Oh, that was part of the deal.
That was part of the deal. I did not know that.
Interesting. Well, the professor always drops the knowledge. I love that. Okay. Yeah, Vanguard Ace of Base. Yes. Is Junji Ito Japanese? Well, that sounds very Japanese.
Yes, he is. I mean, yes, he's very Japanese.
What kind of a question is that? Hey, Hyder, how you doing? Hey, Morgan. Okay, let us get back into this, everybody. So excellent. Okay, so from there, we're going to go to another slide with my only way to cheat and get a little bit more than just 20 pieces. Tim also has done what do you call it? Commission collecting over time, so published work and commissions. And so I ended up putting a couple of your commissions here that I think people would appreciate, and I love them. So why not check these out, everyone? Abigail Arcane by the brilliant John Totleben, and Batman, the beautiful Batman by Rafael Kayanan. Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, I can't remember. I bought the Kayanan from a dealer, so I didn't actually get that from Rafael himself. I had Totleben. The Totlben's an interesting story. I had Bissette and Totleben came to Charlotte and South Carolina. I think I went to both shows. I met him in South Carolina, and then they were at the Heroes Aren't Hard to Find shop. So I went to visit them twice, but I had gotten Totleben to do a Swamp Thing for me. And my friend Tom, who had later would do some inking for Kamiko and things like that on their manga series, he asked for an Abby, and he said, "Have fun." And so Totleben had fun with it.
Yeah.
And when he took it home, Tom's mom, who was very religious, was not happy. So, Tim, would you trade? And I'm like, sure. So I took that, and he got my Swamp Thing, and that's how that one happened.
That's how you acquired this one. Yeah. Well, it's good. It's great, because
it's a wonderful piece.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I think because ultimately, sure, Swamp Thing fans love Abby, but I think overall, there's way more Swamp Thing pieces that the Bissette and Totleben have done over the years than Abby, and so it's kind of nice to get one of the I guess you could say not rarer ones. It's certainly, I think, rarer than a Swamp Thing, But of course, there's still tons of Abby pieces out there. But you, like I said, you got a really, really great one. And
this is the Abby
interesting.
pieces. I think both of these pieces are two of the most viewed pieces in my collection.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Also, the Hiruta page with I forget. I think both of the Hiruta pages also have a lot of views. I don't necessarily get a lot of comments on those, but I get a lot of views on those for some reason.
Right. Yeah, people. I think a lot of it is people who are not necessarily comic art collectors. I think a lot of those views come from people looking specifically for manga type art, but that they're not necessarily, mainstream superhero comic art guys like most of us are. And I think that's probably why you get those views from those types of people. But those are the people that aren't necessarily looking to stay there and comment. They just want to.
Also, I think what happened is when you Googled those characters,
right?
If you went to images,
right,
you could find those images.
You see it, right? And then
so people would click on it just from that.
Right, because it's a quick Google search image. Oh, look at this one. Let me see this one bigger. And you click it, right? You click it on Google search, and that adds the view to your gallery automatically, right? So yeah, that's exactly what I think, But yeah, no, two fabulous commissions, and you have many. And like I said, I would if we had all night, I would show more. But I figured two is better than one, and I figured Batman having made appearances in the Alan Moore run, I thought, okay,
Abby, believe it or not, was just done at the convention.
Oh, really? Yeah.
He drew it right then and there.
Oh, that's nice.
And he also drew at least my Swamp Thing as well. So
right. That's fantastic. Yeah.
I was full fanboy at that point. Yeah. I don't like to go fanboy, and I was older then, so it like really bugged me, but I just couldn't help myself. I was full on. I loved that comic book. I loved Swamp Thing more than just about anything I had ever read before at that point.
Yeah, I was blown away by it too at that time. Yeah. Okay. So fantastic. From two commissions, everyone. Let's jump back into the world of published artwork, American published art, and for that we go to an artistic legend, an artistic legendary team, if you will. Check this one out.
Oh,
Jimmy Olsen, everyone. Jimmy Olsen, number 148 splash page by Jack Kirby and Vincent Colletta. Oh, and let me quickly tell you, everybody, before Tim wants to say what he wants to say about this, really quick. If you look inside the cage, the Jimmy Olsen face there, that's right beneath, I guess, the big chain attached to the cage. That Jimmy Olsen face is inked by Murphy Anderson.
Probably.
Most likely. It does look like it to me. He was apparently doing the faces for Jimmy and Superman, and then Colletta had to ink the rest. But anyways, go ahead and let us know what you have to say about this one, Tim.
Okay. As I said, my dad was a big fan of Jack Kirby when he was a kid, and one of his favorite series was the Newsboy Guardian and the Newsboy Legion. And I did not buy this comic book. I one day came home and found this comic book on my bed. And I don't know if
he had bought it as a surprise for you.
I guess. I think he might have saw Newsboy Legion on the cover and he picked it up for himself to read and then he gave it to me after that.
Okay.
I don't know for sure. I can't say. That was a long time ago. Yeah. But yeah, this was like, my dad would then like go on to tell me about Simon and Kirby and how much he loved that stuff when he was a kid. And so I started learning a little bit about comic book history at that point. I think I even started like looking for stuff like All in Color for a Dime and
oh yeah.
stuff like that to learn more about the stuff. And I had that Origins of the Comics, which had all those origin stories of like the early Superman, and had one page of from Whiz Comics with the origin of Captain Marvel. Didn't have the full story for that, but
Right.
had a bunch of the Golden Age heroes and their origin stories in it. I can't remember the name of that book. Anyway, so one day I saw this on Moy's site, and I was just like, yeah, I got the feels, because my dad had passed away, and
oh, what a shame. What a shame, Tim, that he had already passed before you managed to get this piece. Because then imagine
he died when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
I had a hard time sort of dealing with it when I was a kid, but
yeah. Oh, I can imagine.
Anyway, I saw this, and like, I couldn't immediately buy it because it was like too much money, because I had a certain limit, but I eventually I decided too much money. If I maybe traded, I had a Gil Kane Adam page, and I traded a Gil Kane Adam page, and I think I did like 2 monthly payments of however much it took to get the rest of it paid off.
Right.
And
that's cool. It worked out. That's all.
It worked out.
Yeah. It worked out. That's
and
fabulous.
So yeah, so this one gave me this is one of those super nostalgia pieces that, like I said, it reminded me of my dad. It reminded me of my early days discovering comic books. And like, I didn't like, this was the last issue that Kirby did of Jimmy Olsen. So I was reading this starting. I was like waiting. I went for the next month, and it was not Kirby.
Right.
And then it took me a while to get back issues when I found out there was such a thing as back issues.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, it's an amazing story, actually. I love that's what I love most about it, to be honest, is the fact that it has that connection between you and your dad, you know? And that's why I was saying that it's a shame. It's one of those bittersweet moments, I guess, you have in life, where I'm sure you must have thought like, oh, if only dad was still around, how chuffed would he be if I show him, look at the page.
Right, yeah. There's a bit of that there, right?
Yeah. So bittersweet.
Even though he died when I was in high school, there was still a little bit. I wish Dad could have seen this.
Yeah. Just to for him to just, what would he have thought? Like, oh my God, the original one of a kind only page, the front page of this comic book
with the Newsboy Legion.
Yeah, exactly. Has Tim ever sold art to a local guy to raise money for a piece and then try to buy it back? Oh God. Okay. That's great, Tim. You got what you wanted. Yes, he got the piece. He worked out the deal with Albert, and it all worked out. So that's nice. And Ian, Jewish Dragon, says, great story, Tim. Yeah, that's why I just so you know, Tim, that's why I tell these guys all the time is, I used to apologize a lot live on air, for letting the shows go as long as they do, until I finally realized, no matter how long they go, these guys that come in live, they stick around. Most of them, they stick around as long as they can, certainly. And I realized it's the talking that we do amongst each other, the stories we get to hear and share, that is as much of an importance to what I'm doing as just showing artwork and talking about the artwork for the art's sake, So, I just wanted you to know that, and that it's the stories behind the art that mean a lot to me, certainly, and to some other guys like Ian here. So, not Cab, yeah, Cab, and a few of you that want us to move it along quicker all the time. Art is great. So look at CJ. Art is great. Stories are priceless. See, I love that. Exactly. There you go. But okay. Let's keep it rolling, folks. And from there, let us get to the next one. The next one is... what is it? Oh, this. Okay, yes. Check this one out. Stick with DC.
Okay. Not DC, actually.
Sorry, what'd you say, Tim?
Not DC, actually. I think it was Dark Horse.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. That's right. I always think of it as DC though because of the fact that
that's why I would think of it too. Because I bought the Shadow #1 off the stands, and it immediately became like my favorite comic book at that time.
Yeah.
And so, like, one of the big wish list gets on I wanted was a Shadow page. And that was really difficult to pull off. But then one day, this page from this movie adaptation with content that I could probably never possibly even think of affording from the original run came along, and I'm like, oh, this is mine. If it's not been sold by the time I contact the dealer, it's mine.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, it's got everything I think you would want, right?
Oh, the only weird thing for me now is like the Yellow Menace aspect on Shiran Khan.
I get that.
In the movie, he was much more sophisticated and sexy, and Kaluta just decided, nope, we're going to do traditional. Pulp.
Yeah, the pulp era stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. That's kind of like what these are the kind of the imagery that most people kind of think of when you think of the Shadow.
Right.
So it makes sense. I get it. It is what it is. Product of its time, that type of thing. But
sure.
But yeah, beautiful stuff. I mean, and a great way, I think. As you knew, obviously you wanted one from the original DC series, but I think this was a fabulous sort of workaround for
exactly
right.
And when you're a collector like me, you have to often
work around work around the problem, right?
Work around the budget, work around the problem, work around the availability.
Yeah, exactly. It's listen, that's a story not new to many collectors, right? We all have eyeballs much larger than our bank accounts or our wallets, so you do what you can, and
unless you're Albert Moy and have the cover to issue #1 in your collection, or something like that. And then,
right.
In which case.
That's right. We can't all be that, right? So
we can't all be that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, fabulous piece, fabulous workaround type piece. There's not. It's not the type of piece that I see as it's a nice consolation. Not that I'd be offended by that term, anybody saying that to me, but sometimes I get that aspect of it. But in this case, because he was drawing so well at that time anyways, it's just beautiful. So it's beautiful. It's got great content, right? So
he's inking himself there. So
that's it. Exactly. So
the page layout design is really cool. Everything just works on that page.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's fabulous. Beautifully illustrated.
Margot's on the page. The Shadow's on the page. Shiran Khan's on the page.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's beautifully illustrated, designed, and the content within the panels is
it's an action page too. So I mean, it's really sweet. It's really nice.
Yeah,
to look at.
Yeah, so fantastic. All right, beautiful page. So we got the 2Ks, Kirby. We went from Kirby to Kaluta, and what do we got now? Yes,
Klein.
One out, everybody. That was a coincidence, by the way. I didn't set up the 2Ks on purpose. But yes, check this next one out.
Why 2K?
Why 2K? Exactly. What a switch over from the serious Shadow.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I thought, I tell these guys all the time, Tim, I love to throw them all curveballs and throw in things that people wouldn't expect. And I think this is one of the pieces that probably people wouldn't have expected me to include. So I figured, okay, let's put it in there and see what you got to say about it. Because I know in your description, you've got stuff to say about it. So, tell us a little bit about this.
Oh, Myth Adventures came out at a time I was in college, but I was losing interest in superhero stuff. And Myth Adventures came out at a time when stuff like this kept me in comic books.
Right.
It really did. And I met the guy, Robert Asprin, at a convention, and I had this girlfriend at university who had read Robert Asprin's works and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I got Robert Asprin to, I think I bought 3 of the Myth Adventure books and had him sign it, and I gave it to her. And like, then when the comic came out, I bought a comic for her so she could have that. And it was just something we had in common that we could talk about, relate to. But the art, the story is really good. It,
by the way, Jeff, sorry, Tim, my good friend, my good friend and fellow Canadian Jeff Singh is jumping in to say hey to you. There you go. What's up, Jeff? There you go. I know you've done some deals with
Jeff.
Jeff Singh.
Yeah, I've met Jeff. Came to Japan. I had a beer with Jeff.
Oh, you guys met when you went to Japan. That's right. That's right. He told me that. Yeah, that's right. Wow. There you go. Thanks for dropping by, Jeff. But sorry to cut you off, Tim. Yeah, go ahead with your Phil Foglio story here about this page.
And so, yeah, when I got it, I had been sort of, when I bought this, I was paring down my art buying because it was just becoming too expensive. But this page was still sort of in a range I could afford. And I think it was an auction, but still it didn't go too high. And I've always wanted a Phil Foglio page, and I don't have anything else by Tim Sale. And this sort of, it's a really nice page too. It's really big. Like,
oh, is it?
Twice up. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's cool. That makes it
so
nice.
Like when you see it, it's actually even more impressive.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's interesting. I remember this, from when it was coming out, but I was in those days, I was more of a just straight superheroes. And I did love looking for what we used to call alternates in those days. Now these days known as independents, and I would pick independents. But the thing is that I used to be very straight, serious. In other words, whether it's superheroes or not, I just liked serious stuff. And in those days, I didn't really care for humorous type stuff. And so I never really gave Myth Adventures a chance. But in the ensuing years, that I've been in this hobby of collecting original comic art, I've since met many collectors who have become friends, who have told me that they love Myth Adventures, and they were buying it back in the day, and they said how great it is. In fact, two of those friends I noticed had left you comments on this page in your galleries. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah. So heard a lot of good stuff. I heard nothing but good stuff about this, and it was through those friends that I had learned that this was even based on a series of novels. I never knew that.
Yeah, the author's name again is Robert Asprin.
Right. Yeah, I only found that out like a few months ago, actually. So imagine. Yeah, look at that. Hydra says these pages are oversized and beautiful.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Ruben was more into Omaha the Cat Dancer. You are correct, sir. I was indeed.
I tried Omaha the Cat Dancer, and that was not. I was not ready for that.
It did not work for you.
I like the art. The art was fascinating, but
it didn't work for you.
It didn't work for me.
I thought it was great because it was very like soap operatic, like murders happening, and like the mayor's involved in some kind of criminal conspiracy. And
I didn't give it that much time, I think.
Okay.
I just kind of checked. I checked it out.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is
I don't even think I bought it.
Well, originally I thought, oh, okay, this is just stuff for, teens and early, and young adults to look at the naked, the sexual stuff or whatever. And so I heard about it, I read about it. So I checked it out. And then in the CBG, I think I must have read an article maybe by Dawn and or Maggie Thompson. Somebody wrote an article about it, and it made it sound like it was so good. And I was thinking to myself, wait, so it's not just a comic for people to look at naked cat people?
Right. It's not just yeah.
And then I said, okay. And then I went out and bought a comic. It was either the comic or the trade paperback or whatever. And I read it and I was like, oh my God, it really is good. Like, yes.
I probably should give it a try. I would probably enjoy it now.
You might enjoy it now. I think you might. Yeah. If you know that it's not just about sex and that there's a whole, very important to independent comics, and very well done, honestly. So I would say try if you could.
There was Cherry Pop Tart, which was more just.
See, that was definitely more on the, yes, it's for the sex, you know what I mean?
Actually, I think it was more for the humor than the sex, but
well, both. It's about the humor and the sex together.
It was kind of like Little Annie Fanny. It was sort of a weirder version of Little Annie Fanny.
Exactly.
I didn't get into that either, but
no, me neither.
It was something I did check out because people were telling me you shouldn't look at that. Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not gonna.
I got it. But anyhow,
praise the Lord. Let me have that.
Yeah, exactly. Rick says, like Freak Brothers was more for the drugs.
Ooh, yes.
Well, it was. It was for the hippies who were into, stoner hippie types who were into that lifestyle. Like, it's a comic for them, right? Like, look at these guys hanging out and smoking dope and whatever, having sex, whatever, Yeah, for sure.
I did buy a Freak Brothers comic at some point.
Did you? I looked at them at my shop, but I never bought it. It was just like not for me. It was interesting to look at, but I didn't want to have to spend the money for it, Yeah, and it wasn't definitely not my kind of thing, really. Other than from
I only bought the one issue, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was interesting. It was interesting to have. It was interesting to look at. Again, I probably should have given Omaha the Cat Dancer a bit more of a chance.
I'd say if you could ever get your hands on them, I don't know if they're digital or not, but I would say if you have a chance, give it another chance. I would say that. And I think you would like it. I think you would like it. Came right in time for the sex talk. Exactly, Carlos. I think Kat or Dean Mulaney did a pretty good article about. A lot of people did though back in those days. TJ, yeah, and that's what made me want to read it and check it out. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I listened to those articles because it changed my perspective and realized.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't just a sex comic.
Right.
I knew it was.
Right. But I initially thought it was. And so it was thanks to those articles that I realized, wow. And then reading it, that, oh my God, it's so much beyond that. It's about so much more beyond that. Yeah. So anyways, all right. Well, let's continue this, everybody. Let's get over to the next piece. And what do we have? Yes. Ooh, nothing that I've read, but I know that a lot of you love this. This is not the kind of thing that has ever been up my alley. But I know that you, Tim, love this. And many of you watching now, and those of you watching on Rewind will love. So here we go. Check this out.
Death.
The high cost of living.
You said that you felt really bad about that.
The Swamp Thing?
About the Swamp Thing page.
Yeah.
To get this page, I had to sell. And I got this Sandman 50 page by P. Craig Russell. And the guy who sold it to me gave it to me basically at cost plus whatever shipping and all that kind of stuff. And I loved the page, and it had been in my portfolio for years, but I wanted a death page, and the only way I could figure out to get it was to sell. I think I sold it to McCall.
Oh, okay.
And he said later, McCall said it was at the time, it was his favorite page in his collection, the Sandman 50 page.
Okay.
And it was never my favorite page. It could never have been my favorite page. But I so regretted after I got this page. I so regretted it that it sort of had this page sort of, I always think of that page when I look at this page, so to a certain extent. I love this page though. It's got one of those, I hate to mention his name, Neil Gaiman. It had one of those great moments of dialogue where Death, in her Mary Poppins role here, says, "I know everybody really well." It was just one of those lines that have stuck with me ever since I read it the first time. And this is a great page. I wanted a Death page. I should have figured out a way to do it without selling that Sandman 50 page. And the guy who sold it to me at cost, oh yeah, that's the page I sold to you at cost, isn't it? That you traded. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Look at Tim. Look what Marcus is saying. He says you need to sell this off, or you'll always think of the Sandman page.
Yeah. Well,
he's joking.
I'm probably more open to a really good trade, but yeah, probably.
Yeah, everybody. Tim is always open to a good trade. Tim has done a lot of trades.
And a few.
And from what I recall, I mean, easy enough to work with. So nice guy. So if you ever have anything he wants, and he has something you want, you never know. Reach out to Tim for sure.
I've turned down trades.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've
had chances to get a Hellboy cover and.
Oh, okay.
And I've had chances to get pages from Born Again, things like that.
Wow.
But there was always, I'd have to give up something that I still really, I had to.
Yeah. You would have to give up something great to get the something great. That's that, right? Right. It's one of those things, right? It's tough. Yeah. And if you don't want to let go of those things you have, then yeah, it's got to be.
My wife just bought me a cup of tea. So.
Oh, look at that. That's awesome. Hey, you got to be very, very thankful for that. Just like I'm always thankful that my wife always pops in and hangs out with us and says hello to everybody. That's amazing. Nothing like a good supportive partner in life, right? That's awesome. I still got my water here, so I'm good. Which reminds me, I'll take a swig.
Go right ahead.
Getting kind of hot in here.
Yeah. Anyway, I was real big into the Sandman stuff.
Yeah. So that's it. I mean, and you've got, speaking of Sandman stuff, you've got other Sandman stuff. So we'll talk about that later.
I used to have more Sandman stuff, but yeah. It's been sort of narrowed.
Yeah, but still, at least you've got. There's plenty of people who love Sandman who don't have anything and they wish they had. So look at it that way. You're doing all right, But okay, everybody. So yeah, let's move on to the next piece. And from Vertigo, DC Vertigo, and Death, we jump back over to Marvel, but a little bit back a ways in time for a classic era, classic comic, and classic artists. Check this one out.
Oh, the Starlin.
Yeah, Starlin Leialoha.
Leialoha, yeah. Warlock is one of those comics that blew my little mind when I was, however old I was, 12, I guess. Lord have mercy. This is from the Star Thief saga, but it was really the Magus saga, and that just totally made me a Starlin fan for life. And this page, Cosmic Shark. It was, right after Jaws, when I think all comic book companies were legally required to have a shark in their stories.
I was wondering, I've never read this stuff. I was wondering, what the heck is a shark doing in outer space,
Yeah, they passed a law after Jaws came out. They passed a law that all comic books had to have a shark in their stories, even if they take place in outer space. So,
oh, great law.
it was a good law.
Yeah,
I think they repealed it later, but yeah,
I'm sure. That's awesome. But yeah, but you as a child, still as a child, like when this was coming out, did you actually understand what this stuff was about? Because I've never read any of the 70s Starlin cosmic stuff, and I loved it for the artwork. And I used to even collect the back issues back in the 80s, for the artwork, but I never read them. I was never enticed into reading them because I just never felt.
Man, they were Shakespearean. They were
Really?
Oh, it was yeah, the Magus saga is a tragedy. The Warlock dies. He commits suicide in that, and it was to save the world from his future self. He commits suicide, and it just like, wow, I can't believe that they actually let Marvel publish this back in the day. But man, it was still comprehensible by a 12-year-old because like I said, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
It really did. It was like, whoa.
Yeah, I just know that over the years, people told me that, all that Starlin 70s stuff, it has all kinds of, like, it's all rooted in sort of theology and other socio.
There's that. Plus, I think he was working through Vietnam.
Oh, did he go?
I think he was in Vietnam. I think I'm not totally sure on that, but I think he was working through some things that he had experienced in his life.
Oh, interesting.
And he was using his comics to sort of give expression to that. And I didn't know. I don't think I fully caught on to that when I was 12.
Okay, yeah.
You couldn't, but on a different level, I was like, oh.
This is cool.
This is, yes, it does. It touches on religion. The Magus has made himself a god figure for the universe, and
right.
Even Thanos is like, oh, this guy's trouble.
Right.
And that was it introduced it. I had seen Thanos actually in Captain Marvel, but
right.
Thanos in Captain Marvel was interesting. Thanos in the Magus saga in Warlock was,
really?
Yeah. Okay. So now I get this guy even more than I did before. The first time he had the cosmic cube, and I'd seen the cosmic cube before, but I'd never seen it quite on that level. But
right.
This was
interesting. That makes it. I don't know. That makes me a little.
And like I said, it came out. It was a Comics Code approved book, but it had death. It had religion. It had sex. Even I mean, it was of course, the sex was
no. Obviously, yeah. By the way, Sean is confirming that yes, he was in Vietnam. That's wild.
Starlin was working out some things with his.
He's seeing some shit.
With his stories.
Have a good night, TJ. Have a great week.
Oh, yes, a minute.
And CCA had really loosened. The Comics Code Authority.
They were starting to loosen up things. That was after they didn't even allow monsters in comics and things like that. And that was at that time when they were starting to allow more freedom. Although I think sometimes the artists and the creators were trying to see just how far they could push it in some of the titles.
Oh, sure.
Starlin was one of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Barry Windsor Smith was one of those guys.
Right.
Brunner was
right.
Trying to figure every which way he could sort of.
Yeah. They always wanted to push the envelope.
That's why we still read those comics, I think.
In the end, it seems like that's absolutely. That's why I guess after all these decades, they've always been considered classics, and they continue to be. These guys are pushing the envelope and trying to do something more than what the average thing that was being done in comics at the time. So it makes a lot of sense. Sean says, Starlin was slipping lots of stuff by the code, including redoing the code approval cover stamp to read, cosmic code approval.
Code approved, yes.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let us move on to the next piece, everybody. And before I show that, for those of you watching, if you haven't done so already, there's probably about 7 or 8 of you. By my count, you haven't hit the thumbs up button. That looks like this. It's somewhere.
Hit the thumbs up button, guys. Come on.
Right here, if you don't mind, just clicking that. It's just encourages us to keep doing this. That's it. I would appreciate that. Not much to ask. I would appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, let us jump into. Let's see. We're gonna go from Starlin.
Uh-oh.
Starlin. Oh, look at this. We're gonna go from
Starlin 2.
We're going to stay in the same decade, jump over to DC, I believe it's DC, and out of superheroes, though. Check this out, to one of the most famous, the guy who made minimalism in comics illustration famous. Check this out.
Oh, yeah. Okay, this came out in like 1970.
Yeah, 70. Alex Toth. Or Toth. Like
Alex Toth. Is it Toth or Toth?
Yeah, I always said Toth, and I met.
I did too.
I've met a person with that name, and they say their family name is Toth. But apparently, other people have told me, secondhand knowledge, of course, that apparently some families say Toth. But I would think, being Hungarian, I understand why they would say Toth, because in Hungarian it would be something like the O would be closer to the O.
Is the A-U-A-O sound, I guess?
More
Hungarian,
like,
I don't
more like Toth instead of
Toth.
Okay. Right? Because ta, they don't make that sound, for the O. They don't go ah. So I would say Toth is probably closer, but
probably
either way.
Anyway, this came out like Hot Wheels came out in the late 60s when I was a kid, and they were perfect gifts for aunts and uncles to give to their nephews. And then like I said, animation. There was a TV show on, I forget which network, but there was a Hot Wheels cartoon show.
Right.
And I think this is Toth based these stories off of the animated series. And this is just a wonderful page. It's got all the sound effects on it. It's got wonderful speed lines. It's got the blue pencil. The blue pencil on this is just amazing to look at.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Tim, because I have said many times I love blue pencil. There's a lot of people they will pass on a page they love because there's blue pencil that can be seen. And I'm like, what?
It might not enhance the art of somebody else, but on this page, it totally enhances the art.
Oh, I think it always does. I always love blue pencil being on it. So
I'm not saying I disagree with you necessarily. I'm just saying it might. There's a possibility that maybe it doesn't work in some cases, but
sure.
I would agree with you. It gives it, especially as a original art appreciation in and of itself, as a original art. The blue pencil gives it more depth. It gives it something visually for your eye to something else for your eye to focus on.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love it. I always love it's like it's just a nice monochromatic look to it. I just think it enhances it. So yeah, very nice.
It does.
Yeah, beautiful lines. Beautiful lines, man.
And Dick Giordano is inking him here, and Toth would use those pins and stuff, and like the Gil Kane page I was talking about earlier, those things would fade, but Giordano understood Toth. I mean, this is as good as Toth could do, I think, honestly. And it's all ink. It's all ink in brush. It's just,
yeah, gorgeous.
I know some people will say that's sacrilege or whatever if they're huge Toth fans, but.
And look, here we have Stanley, not a fan of the blue pencil.
Don't like the blue pencil.
Like I always say, different strokes for different folks. We're not forcing you to like it. I love it. Whatever. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but yeah. What are you gonna do? That's your cup of tea.
My cup of tea.
Is that what that is, Tim? Is it tea?
It is tea. Yes.
It is tea. Okay.
It is throat tea, as they say.
That's perfect. That's perfect, actually. He did. Marcus says he did Hot Rod comics. Okay.
Yes. In Hot Rod magazines, they would have. Sometimes they would have cartoons in Hot Rod magazines, and Toth loved cars, and you can tell. There's this one story he did, which was based on just a classic car, and I wish I had a page from that. I love my page, but not planning on ever getting rid of it unless I absolutely have to.
Yeah,
but
you don't have to. Keep it, Tim. Keep it.
But there was this one story he did that had a classic car. It wasn't a Hot Wheels car, and you could just tell he loved cars.
Yeah,
like Tim Sale hates cars, right? Or hated, I should say.
Really?
I heard somewhere where he hated drawing cars or something.
If
it wasn't Tim Sale, it was someone of similar stature.
Yeah, trust me, plenty of artists hate drawing things like cars, buildings, inanimate objects. Like it's because it's very technical.
Toth loved cars, airplanes.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And he did it well.
Yes, he did.
Well. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Let's keep it rolling then, everybody. So let's see what we got next here on the docket. We go from dinky car. So that's what we call them here in Canada. Do you guys ever call them that? We used to call those little cars dinky cars. Did you? Does that term exist in the United States?
I've never heard dinky cars.
No?
There were other types of
like anything
in those days.
Okay, anything that was like Hot Wheels, the tiny little Hot Wheels style car. For some reason, they were called dinky cars. I don't know where that comes from, but
didn't have that term in North Carolina that I'm aware of.
Okay. Got let me see. Oh, what's Sean says Toth's letter usually contains sketches of cars and jets. Oh, his letters, right? His doodling, right? Matchbox is the other one. That's right, Marcus.
Matchbox is what I was trying to think of. Yeah.
Jeff, it could be. Maybe that's what it is. And it's just a kind of local Quebec thing. I don't know. But it still doesn't really explain. Like, where does that word dinky? Why dinky? What does that mean? Who knows? Maybe there was a brand that made those cars that was called dinky. Maybe, and that's how it just came to be, kind of like Kleenex. We call them Kleenex instead of tissues, that kind of thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
No idea, Dink. Oh, I was right. Right guess. Hyger is confirming Dinky was a UK brand. Canada and the UK, we've had a long history of, connection together for many things. And Rick also says Dinky car is British. Oh, so there you go. Though that's why. That makes sense. Okay. Thanks,
and
guys.
In Canada, you would have probably had more access to stuff like that than down south where I live.
Right. Yeah, exactly. A lot of the stuff from the UK, UK influence would reach us, but not go down south, Yeah, that's fun. In Maine, we called Matchbox English cars. Interesting.
Really?
Interesting. Wow. I wonder why. That's interesting. Okay. Southern Comic Geek says Micro Machines. Okay.
I remember Micro Machines. They were really tiny cars, I think. Yeah, I never had any. Maybe I did.
Dinky as in small? Yeah, I think so. Shrinky Dink. I guess Stingray. I don't know. Matchbox is a British brand? Man, I'm learning a lot tonight. I would have been. I thought for sure that's just the American competitor to Hot Wheels. I just figured it was two American brands. Interesting.
Mattel.
Wow. Okay. Dinky meant small, I guess so. And a British slang for small. Yeah. Dinky donuts. Interesting. Okay. That's what I love about the show. Plenty of people dropping knowledge. We learn a lot of stuff together. think he did the toys for the old UFO series from the 70s.
Oh,
interesting. Thanks,
okay.
Iger. Okay, Lesney, I believe. Interesting. Wow. Okay. All right. Thank you for the historical and geographical lessons, everyone. Let us keep it rolling and move to the next piece. And what do we got there? So what? I'm sorry. What did I just last show? Was it the Hot Wheels?
Hot Wheels.
All right. So let's show this one.
Oh, this is completely different. Yeah.
Hey, like I said, I like to throw the curveball every now and then.
So yeah, Paul Pope. Paul Pope is one of those artists who actually lived in Japan like me. Came over here. He actually got published in Japan. I haven't seen it, but yeah, and I'll never probably be able to get a Dark Knight, but I needed a really good modern day Batman page, and I had a chance to get this, and Felix helped me out with some payments and stuff like that. So this is how that ended up in my. Yeah, this came from Felix when he started repping Paul Pope.
Right.
Hadn't seen much of his art up until then. Yeah, Batman Year 100 was a good Elseworld story. It was quite good. I enjoyed it.
Interesting. I just want to say, I decided to read it, and I didn't think it was all that great. I just felt like my memory of it was that it felt like it was one long chase scene where Batman.
There was a lot of that, but that was the Japanese influence. That was the manga influence. So
okay,
if Batman were a manga, this is sort of what it would be like. And
okay, I just remember he's like trying to get back to the safety of his, I don't know if it was the Batcave or his apartment or whatever, but he just kept running and running because people are after him, and it's just like, okay, is this gonna? I just felt like is anything other than a chase gonna happen here, you know? But it was Cobby liked it too. Has a page from issue 2. That's cool. Yeah,
like I said, the extended action sequences are a feature of action mangas here, like an action sequence they're published monthly in these large tomes before they're collected, and so a chapter can be just one long extended action sequence, and sometimes they can extend into 2 chapters. And that's what the feel of this was, and I appreciated it for that.
Right.
And I think the art style and everything else. I even liked the story. I thought the story was, what if Gotham became Big Brother? How would Batman be in a world of 1984? And it's not the most original idea, but it still works.
Yeah, and Stanley, the title just means it's like in the future. It's happening in 100 years in the future, or whatever, something like that, right?
It was supposed to take place 100 years after the original Batman first appeared.
Right, that's it.
And so the question is this guy still Batman? Is he a vampire or what? There's all these little misdirections, and it was never really actually, if you're looking for conclusion on that, you never get it in the story. It's just
right. Yeah, I also
although he is human, not a vampire, you do get that much.
I have to say, with Paul Pope, and I've said this on my channel in a previous show because I showed somebody else's Paul Pope piece, and I said, when it comes to his Batman, I feel like, and give me a second to express myself the best I can here. I feel like his Batman is the ugliest Batman I've ever seen. He draw particularly the head, okay, the face. It's a hideous looking Batman, I feel. But if this makes any sense, it's hideous in a way that somehow makes me want to keep looking at it. Like it's ugly, but it's beautiful in its ugliness. Somehow I still want to keep looking at it, even though I think it's unattractive. Does that make any sense? Oh
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I think Batman lends itself to that. The Batman as a character lends itself. I mean, you can have a perfectly Neil Adams, Adonis sculptured Batman, or you can have this Batman lends itself to this dark, dingy, ugly world. And I think Pope sort of captures that with that Batman. And like, in this page, he's got on the Nosferatu teeth and everything.
Yeah. And what I wanted to say also about this page, because I was going to say, I didn't know actually until I read, again, thanks to you, Tim, and your descriptions, fantastic, in your gallery. I had no idea about Paul Pope and his background. I had no idea that he had gone to Japan. And so when I chose the page, I saw, Paul Pope, Batman. Okay, I'll choose that. And I made that decision even before I read your description. And I looked at it and I said, here, let me put it back up real quick. Panel number 4, I said to myself, wow, that face, that guy's face, it looks like it comes straight out of like manga, like some kind of Japanese style drawing, right? And then I thought, then I read your description. I was like, oh, so he's been in Japan and worked in Japan, and so that makes sense. So my eye was seeing what it was seeing for a reason, you know. That's what I kind of learned there. So yeah, but really, really cool. And always gigantic, right? All his art is always gigantic, correct?
Yes, it's huge.
He likes to work big.
Got it here. Actually, might have to step back a little bit, but so you can see how big it is.
Yeah, wow, that's very cool.
I try to keep it in the shadow as much as possible because, like, he used some marker on it. It's starting to fade a little bit, but the other parts where he inked in brush is still quite nice. Actually, it sort of gives it a two-tone feel, so I don't mind it as much. But
yeah,
I've got it framed. It's, UV cut glass, actually UV cut plexi.
Oh, very good.
I try to keep it in the shadows as much as possible because.
Yeah, you do what you can, right? You got to do your part as best you can, and that's all you can do.
But also, it's too big. I don't have anything I don't have a portfolio that'll hold something like that.
So, right.
The biggest thing I could do to protect it was to frame it.
Yeah, no, that's all you can do. I mean, listen, your choice is put it in a, buy yourself one of those gigantic portfolios, but then you're buying a portfolio just to get that one piece housed. Seems ridiculous, right? But that's
other than
that, but the thing is, but then you don't even enjoy it much, right? But with framing, at least you see it all the time. You get to get all that enjoyment out of it on a daily basis. So I think that's a great choice. And like you said, as long as you're protecting it with the UV glass, you're good to go. If it continues to fade, don't feel bad as if it was anything that you did wrong. Some of these inks that these guys use are so bad in quality that they're guaranteed to fade no matter what you do.
Right. What I mean? Like those Gil Kane, that Gil Kane page is never exposed to sunlight, really.
Right.
It just.
Right. It happened while you owned it, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's just the cheap pigmentation is breaking down, and it's going to, because it was cheap quality. That's it. Nothing you can do, unfortunately, so don't feel bad. And no, Marcus, we're not going to talk about that. You're always such a ball buster. Thoughts about re-inking it. No, we're not going to be, we're not going to give him the idea of re-inking it. No. Okay. Let us get to the next piece.
I remember somebody re-inked one of those Gil Kane pages, and I thought it got Bob McLeod or somebody to do it, and it actually turned out okay, I thought, but I would never think to do that.
Of course it looks fine because it's been re-inked. There's been freshly applied jet black ink, so of course it looks fine, but it's the morality of it all. It's like it's not the original anymore.
They touch up classic
different
paintings and stuff like that.
We've argued this.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna do it. It doesn't.
Okay, good. That's all I want to know. Thank you. That's all I want to know. Thank you. Don't do it. Thank you. Okay, everybody. You see what you did, Marcus? Let us move to the next piece. We'll jump back to Marvel and back to the 70s. And to one of my favorite characters, but not a superhero. Check this. A great artist, though. Check it out.
Frank Thorne, Red Sonja. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Oh Lord. Yeah, for hormonal teenagers, there was nothing quite like Red Sonja.
Exactly.
Oh Lord. And Thorne just, this page you don't see it even as much, but I mean, you can still see all the details, like in the second panel. Just look at the knife hilt. Look at all the work he just puts into that. And barely shows up in the printed comic book, but oh Lord, these pages are awesome.
Yeah.
I love seeing Frank Thorne's art whenever somebody gets one on CAF.
Me too. Yeah.
Someone had I think a page from issue 1 recently with the unicorn, and that was just such an interesting page. It had butterflies falling throughout the entire top of the page from panel to panel, and it was, he would just do stuff that kid could truly just fully appreciate when they were reading it as a kid, but now you see it as an adult and it's like, oh my.
Yeah, and I love that nice little touch he did to show how quickly she decides, I'm going to stab this thing over and over and over repeatedly, and showing 3 different forearms on the last panel. I love that. I
love anytime you show movement using Ditko, for instance, was a master at it.
Yeah.
And you can do it well, but this is done well, that sort of.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Amazing. And that, let's be honest. I mean, yes, we all probably were introduced to this outfit when we were like kids or teenagers. But to this day, it's got to be the sexiest, coolest design of a female heroine costume in comics ever. Like the metal bikini, so classic, so classic. Love it.
Oh, I forget who designed it. It wasn't Thorne. It was one of the Spanish artists.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was like in one of those pinups in Savage Sword of Conan or something like that. It was the first appearance of the bikini.
Interesting. I did not.
Yeah, because when BWS did his original Red Sonja, she had the full chain coat thing going forward.
Chainmail, with leather boots, whatever.
Leather. Exactly. Yeah, so
it
was
sense.
Sexy, and she took it off at one point and swam around in the pool, which I wasn't fully prepared for that when I was a kid, but I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Look what Sean says. One of my first issues was Red Sonja number 6, and I bought pages from that issue for the same reason as Timothy. You mean because you like the boobs? You can say it, Sean. I mean,
you can say it.
We're all adults here.
I did not say it, but I was thinking
it. So Steve says, I read that the outfit was a battle tactic worn to distract male opponents in battle. Probably.
I think that was worked into one of the stories at some point. Yes.
Okay, so let me say this, and I think I've told the story before, but not story as much as it's a quick anecdote. When Dynamite got the Red Sonja license in 2005, and they relaunched her series, the first issue, and I own the page. Unfortunately, because it's modern art, there's no, it's just pencils only, first of all, and there's no words on the page. But it's a great page because it has the best Red Sonja dialogue I've ever read. That's why I bought the page. She's standing around, whatever, in some forest, and this old guy comes by on his horse, and he sees her. He chances upon her, and he's like, "My God, woman, that clothing, it scarcely hides your modesty." And she says, he looks at him with just a straight face and says, "Men are easily distracted. They usually only notice my sword after their heads are rolling off of it." And I was like, yes, exactly. That's exactly the reason you should wear that outfit. That's the only reason right there. Exactly. So
moving it back to Japan, there was a similar thing in Lone Wolf and Cub, where there was this woman intent who had good sword skills, let's say.
Right.
who was intent on vengeance, but her stick was she would take off all her clothes, and that would totally distract her intended victim's concentration, and she would then kill him.
Okay. So yeah, there you go, guys.
So
it has a purpose. It has it works, even though it's not protective per se.
No, it is definitely not protective.
No. Rick says that he's guessing, or maybe he knows for a fact,
Esteban Maroto. Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Rick. All right, let's keep it rolling, peeps, because I'm a little bit behind here.
I have a piece by Maroto, actually.
What's that?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. All right. So this next one, I don't even know. My thumbnails are really tiny. I can't tell what this one is.
Well,
everything's
a surprise to us both.
I think I know what it is. Yeah. Okay. I think we're gonna jump back to DC to the late 60s, I think. Let's check this out.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, Brave and the Bold, number 78 from 1968 by Bob Brown and Mike Esposito.
There is a chance that this is the first comic book I intentionally chose off of the stands back in the day.
Yeah.
I'd have only been 4 years old, but yeah. I mean, obviously there was the Batman cartoon and there was the Batman TV show. And so I had a Batman bank. I had Batman this, I had Batman that back in the day. I had a Batman birthday cake. So I saw this and the cover stood out and had Batgirl in it and everything else. And
yeah, it's good content for sure.
It was really good content for 4 years old. The older you get, the more insane it becomes. But I think it makes perfect sense when you're like in that 6-year-old stage.
Sure.
It makes perfect sense back then. I was amazing. Like a lot of the Golden Age Batman stories that they would reprint in those 100-page super spectaculars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When I read them at age 8, it's like, oh, wow, this is so amazing, the story. And then you read it later as an adult and you're like, well, this makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
And this is one of those. This is Bob Haney-verse, Zany Bob Haney, whatever you want to call him.
And who cares if it's silly or not or whatever? As an adult, you can appreciate the art nowadays. And I love the panel.
The art's amazing.
Panel structures.
Bob Brown, Mike Esposito.
Yeah, really great.
I had originally read that it was all Bob Brown, but somebody on CAF enlightened me that it was actually Mike Esposito. And it made sense because Esposito was inking Wonder Woman at the time. So it probably made sense to get him to ink this issue. Yeah.
And Steve, I mean, this is a couple of years after the Batman TV show started. How long did Batman TV show last? Was that 4 years or 2 years?
3 years, I think. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it was.
Could have been 4.
Yeah. So I think so, yes.
But Steve, this was
right in the...
They did not cancel the show because it was unpopular.
They did not?
No. It was still... They probably overdid it, putting it on twice a week, but still.
Oh.
No, it was still fairly popular at the time. It's just... the networks decided it was not the right show for them anymore. And
okay.
Whatever. And it was expensive or whatever.
Yeah. Thanks, Marcus and CJ. Appreciate that. 3 years, 3 seasons.
That's my understanding. I could be wrong, but I seem to remember reading something along those lines.
Yeah. Well, there you go. No, yeah. Thank you, guys. All right. We will move directly to
that was one of my, by the way, that is one of my favorite pieces in my collection.
Oh, fantastic. Wow. Well,
it's pure nostalgia. It's just crazy. The content is hilarious.
Yeah. I'm even happier that I picked it now, though. So that's great. Okay, we'll keep it rolling. And we are now going away from the big two.
Okay.
Into something. Again, I picked this more for the connection to you and your life, Tim. Check it out.
Vertigo Pop.
Yeah, Tokyo.
Vertigo Pop Tokyo by Seth Fisher. Seth Fisher, I mentioned in my introduction that I was on the Japan exchange and teaching program. So was Seth Fisher.
Right.
And he came over here. I believe he got married. His life was very similar to mine up until his untimely death.
Right.
And
wow.
He did a lot of nice superhero stuff. Green Lantern. He did a Big in Japan, Iron Man, Fantastic Four, something like that. Big in Japan. He did a interesting Flash story. He did a great run on Batman. Dark Knight, whatever. What was that comic? The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight Returns, you mean?
No. It wasn't the Dark Knight Returns. There's that. It came out after Dark Knight Returns, but
you mean the Legends of the Dark Knight? The Legends of the Dark Knight?
Legends of the Dark Knight. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So yeah, he did like a 4 or 5 issue run in Legends of the Dark Knight, but this is his magnum opus, I think, really.
Oh, is that just you saying that, or have you heard other people say the same thing?
This is my opinion.
Okay.
And he lived in Japan, he knew Japan, he loved Japan, and it shows on every page that he does. I mean, this page, look at just all the details, that the floor and all the checker is, and this is not even half of what he does on some of the pages.
Right.
It's a comedy. It's a travel log of Tokyo. You read this book, you will get a tour of Tokyo, basically.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Kabi says that he likes the various repeating patterns and images that are throughout the page. Yeah,
he was quite good at that.
Yeah.
Like you see the checkers in panels 1, 2, and 3, and then.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's really cool. What's going on there? Is that girl's been shooting people all over the office? Is that what's happening?
No, a food fight happened. Is what?
Oh, okay.
There was a food fight broke out. No,
okay.
She is kidnapping a Japan pop singer so that she can take him to her group and prove that she is his #1 fan. And everybody else is just caught up in her machinations. Her brother, which is the guy with the question mark on his jacket, works for the mafia, and he was supposed to shake this guy down, the pop artist, Visual K as they call it. He was supposed to shake this artist down for money that he owed to the mob. And
John Belushi was there. What does that mean? I don't get that comment. You get
food
that comment?
Food fight is from from
from
Animal
the movie.
House.
The Animal House. Right. Okay. Thanks, Rick. That's funny. How long did that series run, Tokyo?
It was a mini series. It was only like 4 issues or something like that.
3 or 4 issues or something, right? Yeah. Yeah. How long has it been now since he's been gone? When did he pass away? I forget.
I can't remember, but it's been a few years now.
Been a few years now, yeah. Okay, all right. Let's see, everybody. We're gonna get to the next piece. Once again, not sure what this is, but let's find out together. Check this out. Oh, yes. Speaking of the Sandman, as I mentioned earlier, Charles Vess, one of my favorite all-time illustrators. Wow. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful, Tim. And this is, again, coming from a guy who never read Sandman. It's not really my thing, but I can certainly appreciate the artwork. Wow.
Okay. I took a lot of Shakespeare classes in college, and I did this one Shakespeare class that gave me 2 hours credit. And if I wanted the 3rd hour credit, which I kind of needed, I had to do a research paper. And I decided to do a research paper on Shakespeare and the comics. Yeah. And most of this was stuff, this was well before this came out. So, I mean, what I concentrated on was things like Classics Illustrated and some of the other classic comics that came out that did adaptations of Shakespeare and things like that.
Right.
So then a few years after that, this came out, and I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. This is what I wish I could have been able to write about, because it takes this imaginary history of Shakespeare and how he was able to, with his lack of education and everything else, create all of these incredible stories. He got it through a deal with Morpheus.
Okay.
He had the ability, but the Morpheus gave him the dreams to think of these stories.
Okay.
And he had the talent. Morpheus just was his muse, as it were.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was wondering. I was wondering what Shakespeare I was doing as a character inside the Sandman universe. You know.
In payment, Shakespeare had to write 2 stories for Morpheus, and the first one was this.
Aha. Okay, got you.
And the second story we learned in the last issue, issue 75, was The Tempest.
Okay. And is this story in 19 like one of your favorite issues, or is it just you in terms of story, or you just love it?
I used to call it probably one of my favorite single issues of any comic. It was definitely for a long time, maybe still is.
Okay.
In certainly top 5, maybe even top 1. I don't know.
Okay.
There were 3 issues of Sandman that I thought were very, very well done, just as a single issue. It was issue 19. There were lots of really good issues, but issue 19, issue 50, and issue 75, the last issue.
Right. Yeah.
And 2 of those were.
Sorry, Steve says that this was a great issue, and a particularly great page from the issue that you have here with Shakespeare's son, the tragic foil.
Yes. So Hamnet is meeting the Queen of the Fairies here, and we see later in, I think it was the Book of Magic, he shows up in her realm after he dies here in this realm. So
Very cool.
if Shakespeare had not brought him on, would he have lived? That's something that will haunt Shakespeare throughout his life.
That is the question.
That is a question. That is the question.
It is not.
And his name is Hamnet, not Hamlet, but Hamnet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm just saying it is not whether it's to be or not to be. It's what we just proposed. That is the question. Right. So
what did I do and how did it affect everything that I did later on? Yeah. Should I have done this differently?
Right.
Did I make the right choice?
Right.
And
it
has this has themes of, what the cost of dreams actually are, what you have to do to achieve certain things.
It's that's what I understand is the series sort of provokes a lot of questions about a lot of things. It makes you think, I suppose.
He said, she said. Yeah. 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 Neil Gaiman is like problematic, isn't he?
Well, now, unfortunately, Steve says, this issue questions the meaning of choices and destiny in humans.
Indeed.
Okay. A lot of questions. Thank you, Marcus. All right. Keep it rolling, peeps. We go from...
just before I go, that page was probably I had to sell like half of my collection to be able to afford that page.
Really?
Yeah. So really? I had a lot more Silver Age art than I do now.
Oh, really?
A lot of it got sold to pay for this.
Oh wow! When
So
about
that was
acquire it though? Whenabouts did you acquire this one?
Ooh, I can't remember the year. It wasn't a couple years back now.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, this was offered to me by a collector, and like I was like, I can't afford that, man. And it's like, oh, and like he came back. This is the page for you. And so I went to Will at Will's Comic Art, and I said, look, if I give you these pages to sell, and you take 10% or whatever your cut is, will I be able to make this much money in order to pay this thing off?
Right.
And he looked at it. He's like, yeah, I gave him what I thought the prices might be for these. He said, for the most part, you've got these things priced at a level that I think we can sell. And I think you've got enough quality here to get it.
Okay.
And so the collector sent that page to Will, and then I sent all my pages to Will, and then he sold them for me.
Okay.
And he had all the connections, so it wasn't just me trying to.
Right. Stanley says,
and it worked out.
You.
I had to give up a lot, and like you said, I had to give up some great pages to get this.
Yeah, it's an important page, Stanley, when you know that he gave up like a ton of his Silver Age artwork. So
I gave up I had pages. I had a page from the first Dick Dillon Justice League story with the Red Tornado. I had a great Kubert Dinosaur Island page. One of the last pages, and I tried to stop it from being sold, but it was already too late. I had a JLA Avengers page by Perez, I should say. I don't. Okay, well, I shouldn't have sent that one. It was too late. That one got sold. So okay. And I'll never probably get anything close to that quality by Perez again. But
overall,
I had it, and I enjoyed it. Now I've got this.
Yeah. So, yeah. Overall, you're happy. You love having this. That's what counts, right? So that's it. As long as you're not living with a ton of.
Some of the pages hurt. It hurt.
I'm sure they usually do, right? They usually do. So I get it.
That was the only way I could do it.
Yeah.
And it took a little bit of time, and the guy wrote me back. I'm like, you're supposed to be getting some payments from Will as it went along, but like, hey man, this is taking a long time. I'm like, well, by my calculations, there's only this much left. They're like, oh, okay, never mind. It's like,
yeah.
And then soon after that, it all came around. So it all worked out.
Good. And that's all that matters. That it all worked out. That's it. That's all you need to know. So excellent. All right. So we're gonna go from the world of death and Morpheus and dreaming to another world of potential deaths. One story after another by the master of the macabre.
Oh, okay.
Creep Show.
Bernie Wrightson.
Creep Show by Bernie Wrightson. Yes.
I grew up. Yeah.
Something that tied you over.
I always wanted a Bernie Wrightson page. It was like up there with the Kaluta, like I talked about with Kaluta earlier. I've always wanted like a Kaluta page, a Jeff Jones page, a Wrightson page, and a BWS page. BWS is the only one I haven't been able to really pull off. But
yeah.
This Wrightson page, at the time I thought it was kind of like this is a consolation for not being able to get the right Swamp Thing or the right Warren horror page.
Yeah.
But the more I look at it, the more I'm like, no, this is a good page.
It's cool. I like
the colors are faded a little bit.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I think it's watercolors.
Okay. But like Sean said, I remember the scene in the movie very clearly. I mean, I remember it was
this is Wrightson. This is Stephen King. The movie was directed by the Night of the Living Dead director himself.
Yeah, Romero. Yeah.
Yeah, George A. Romero. And I mean, this was it, and it had great lines. It had one of the best lines in the entire movie when Leslie Nielsen says, "I can hold my breath a long time."
Long time.
Oh, that was
Yeah. It's classic.
And
I love that.
and Brightson's perfect. Apparently he was like a last minute. It was a last minute deal that brought them together, but
Really?
it was kismet. It was perfect.
That's a bit surprising to me because at that point, King had already used Wrightson to do spot illustrations for chapter illustrations in
I think this is the first time they worked together.
Really? I'm pretty really. Oh, maybe you're right.
I'm not totally sure about that, but I think this led to him doing stuff for. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. You could be right.
I'll defer to you because. Yeah, I admit I
remember he illustrated The Stand. There was an illustrated version of The Stand that came out, and he did other stuff later in the werewolf story. Jesus.
Yeah, Cycle of the Werewolf. Later, Cycle of the Werewolf. Yeah.
It's called the movie, but
you're right. I guess that's what it could be. It's my timing is probably off, but yeah, but very very fun stuff. Yeah, it's cool. And hey, you got your rights in, so.
Yeah, I got my rights in, and I didn't lose an arm and a leg when I bought it.
Yeah, exactly. On Silver Bullet, I think Silver Bullet was afterwards. Yeah, no, for sure. That's definitely afterwards. Exactly, for sure. Okay, keep it rolling, peeps. We gotta do it a little bit faster. We still got 5 more to go, and Tim's gotta get back to his life. So let us jump into the next piece, and that is this.
Oh,
speaking of horror. Yeah.
Speaking of horror.
And from the first issue, Tim, look at you from the first issue.
Yeah, wow. Not his first appearance though, but yeah.
No, still, that's awesome. From the first issue, that's still really cool.
My mother grew up in the first got married in the 50s, and my older sister was born in the 50s, and all that stuff about horror comics being bad for children and all that stuff was ingrained in her head. And I remember I bought a Spider-Man comic book. I think it was Spider-Man 100 where he got the 8 arms, right? And I couldn't wait for the next issue, but it had Morbius on the cover, and Morbius was a vampire. My mother would not let me buy Morbius.
That's funny.
I did eventually get to read that in a barber shop when I was getting my hair cut, but if not for that, it would have taken much longer. But
yeah.
But at some point, my father said, if he's reading, it can't be bad. It gets approved by the comics code. Let him, So Werewolf by Night was the first. I think it was the Marvel Preview version when it was still in Marvel Preview. But Werewolf by Night was the first horror comic I bought.
Okay.
And so before I bought Wrightson or Swamp Thing, I found the Swamp Thing stuff later.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's a great one, man. I mean, Werewolf by Night #1. Mike
probably overpaid for this, and I had to do a really long payment plan with this guy. But
really,
yeah.
Well, it's okay, and it worked out, right?
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. She screamed. Yes, no vampires, but Thorne is okay.
That came later. Thorne came later, actually. Thorne was 76. This was 1971, 72 when this stuff was.
Good one, Marcus. Good one. I like the call out there. I like you. I like you trying to call him out. Oh, that's funny. That is so funny. Barbarucci.
And I was at 72, I'd have just been 7 years old. So, give my mother some slack.
Yeah,
I had more hormones by the time I got to Thorne.
Sean's wondering if you're still paying for it.
No.
That's long since been paid off. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great. Not only from the first issue, but it's got werewolf all over it. He's all over the page in action, jumping around, in the jungle or whatever that is, forest.
And the inking on that page is it's not Plug who does the inking. Usually Plug is his best inker, but
Chiaramonte did a fantastic job. I was surprised. I couldn't remember that he had inked that issue. I was like, oh wow. I was like, really? I even double checked to make sure you weren't making a mistake. That's how surprised I was, you know?
Oh yeah, I thought it was Plug when I first. Yeah, I remembered it like Plug had inked it or something, but no.
But that's it. So yeah, fantastic. But okay. All right, we'll keep it rolling here and play catch up. Next piece, folks. This next pill. So we got the next four. The last four are all going to be doozies. Not that we haven't seen a bunch of doozies already. Here's another one. Take a look at this one. Oh, look at that. I love that Russ Heath art on this from this prime period of our army at war, man. Oh, love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, I picked when I started reading Sergeant Rock, it was Russ Heath. So Russ Heath was my Sergeant Rock artist.
He's your guy,
Cuba. He's my guy.
Yeah.
And this story, long before this story affected me as a kid. I didn't realize it was basically a sort of a mini adaptation of Toshiro Mifune and
Jaws, perhaps?
No, the shark actually plays a part in the issue after this.
Okay.
But no, that was the shark is just there for effect in this page.
Oh, okay.
The shark doesn't really play a part in this issue. It plays a part in the issue after this, as I recall. It's been a while. But no, I mean, oh my God, just look at this. Just look at the brush strokes on the waves and look at the angle of the shark and the raft above it and the likeness of Toshiro Mifune on the Japanese captain's face. And it's just that last panel.
Yeah.
I always wanted to pay. I had a chance to get other Russ Heath pages and I would have paid much less for them. But I always wanted a page from this issue because it stuck so firmly in my brain when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it finally showed up and I had to pay. I forget how much, but it was much more than I would have had to pay if I had picked up one of those earlier pages.
Yeah.
And I had to choose between this page and the final page of the story. And the final page of the story is one of the reasons I remember the story so much, is because it's a tragic ending, and it seems like you just learn that death is this. It was kind of a big concept for an 8-year-old me to wrestle with, but
hard to put it in,
which is why I guess it stuck. And so this was the issue I'd always wanted to get a page from. And I thought this page with all the techniques he's using, the last page is just basically a fight page between Rock and the captain and doesn't have the same detail as this page. And I just said, this is the page I want.
It's an absolute stunner, Tim. I mean, look, Hubert's my guy. Russ Heath, though. God, I love that stuff.
Hubert's my Tarzan guy.
What's that? Oh, he's your Tarzan guy?
He's my Tarzan guy.
Okay. I mean, that stuff's
Russ
great
Heath
too.
is my Sergeant Rock guy.
But no, that's brilliant. It's if you're gonna have one Russ Heath Sergeant Rock page, whoa, that's an amazing one to have. Amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
So aesthetically, everything you would want is just there. Like all his technique and skill. Wow, what an example. Super, super strong. So yeah, you're good with that, Tim. I don't think you need to be looking to upgrade that one. I wouldn't. It's it's amazing. I'd want to fight with the captain and Tennille. Okay, you go ahead and fight with them then, Marcus. Is that a Jim Ballant on the wall? Those Catwoman titties look vaguely familiar.
Oh no, that's not Jim Ballant. It's Kiyasamiya. He did a Batman in Japan story, and that's his version of Catwoman.
Okay.
So Kiyasamiya, manga artist. My friend Yoshi worked with Mr. Asamiya. That's not his real name, actually. I think that's a pen name. But anyway, he set up the commission, and I was able to. He's like, "What do you want?" Well, I want a Catwoman. That was from that was one of the more memorable parts of his manga.
Excellent. All right, folks. Luckily, you guys should know, since we've reached the 11 o'clock hour on the East Coast, 8 o'clock Pacific, you should know that this was the cutoff time for Tim, but Tim has a few extra minutes. He told me in advance, in case we did not make it for 11. We got 3 more pieces, so let's just get to them. And that way we can let Tim go. But these last 3, again, great stuff. Check this one. This next one out. People were asking about it. Of course, I was going to include it. How could I leave this out? Check it out.
So that's the page I talked about much earlier.
Yeah.
In the deal with Shelton.
And the Shelton drum deal. Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, it's
I've got a Ditko. I've got a Kirby. I'm good. I mean, there are things I could. Is it the best Ditko in the world? No.
Well,
is it my Ditko? Yes.
I think it's great Ditko. I mean, sure, if what you really want.
It might well be the greatest JJ Jonah Jameson.
That JJ face is the best.
That JJ face is great.
And honestly, in all the panels, he's got that obnoxious smirk.
It does.
In every single one. Like, it's awesome, And I love it because you get obviously you would like to, realistically, in a perfect world, you'd like to have some Spidey on it. But for a page that doesn't have Spidey, Tim, you got Aunt May, the most important, I think, supporting character in the Spidey mythology. And then J. Jonah Jameson, right? The really his first true villain, if you think about it.
Antagonist, anyway, not villain, but he was an antagonist.
Yeah, antagonist.
I guess he was a villain in that issue with the robot, but
yeah, that's right. That's right. But I mean,
but for the most part, he was the antagonist. He was,
Yeah, to me, like, again, for a page that's, supporting characters, it's pretty great. I mean, sure, you're still missing some, like Flash Thompson, whatever. But I think it's really
great. Betty Brant, so
it's got Betty Brant and J. Jonah Jameson plus Aunt May right there. I think that's fantastic. That already makes it great. And look, everybody in the chat is, wow, awesome. J. Jonah Jameson Grail. Hey guys, J. Jonah Jameson was sexually harassing all of those young interns. It's common knowledge. Well, it might be now, Antoine. Love JJJ pages.
Never meet your heroes.
Yeah, and like CJ says, even without Spidey, it is in many ways better. Great character page.
Oh, it's a great soap opera page.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got the whole Aunt May's sick, Peter's.
Yeah,
I've got to take care of my aunt. I've got to be responsible. And it's got just J. Jonah Jameson happy. Which scares the other reporters in the office. They're like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's really gorgeous. I love the artwork. I think it's beautiful, the Ditko stuff. And like I said, everybody in the chat's loving it. I mean, you don't see that, people talk too much, compliment stuff too much, when it's missing the main person that you want on it. But I mean, it's Ditko, it's early Spider-Man. I mean, all these characters matter, because of the fact that Spider-Man, the series, has such an incredibly rich tapestry of supporting characters that are important, right, to the mythology.
Yeah.
So,
and it's just ingrained in popular culture as well. So
exactly. Hey, what's up, Mark? Betty with the double face palm. Exactly. Look at that. Sean, a fantastic page. Soap opera element was one of the strongest elements of classic Spider-Man comics. Absolutely. And look at that. Just in time. One of the biggest fans of this material. Just dropping by for a very short while. And what a coincidence. It's the Ditko ASM page. Just for you, Cab. Tim, I love the backstory to how you obtained this page, he says. Yeah, that's fantastic. Spidey's a coward in this issue.
He's not a coward. He found out his aunt was sick and he had to get back to his aunt. Sorry, Sandman, or whoever. Was it Sandman? I think it was Sandman.
Stanley's curious.
Some things are more important than fighting Sandman.
That's true. Stanley wants to know: Are you? Do you remember when was it that you did the whole deal to get this page?
After I got married in '97.
Right after '97. Okay, '97. Yeah. There you go, Stanley. '97. He's had it since then. All right, second to last piece coming right up, folks. Another kick-ass page from that same deal that Tim already also mentioned when he told us that story. Check it out. Blisteringly amazing page from this title and this run, by the way. Oh, gosh. Look at the cinematic action happening with the white.
This is Miller feeling his oats here. He's really learning how to put a page together and action sequences and choreographing. I mean, he choreographs a fight. This is one of the first times I've really seen. Neil Adams, I guess, did it in Batman. I remember especially when he fought Ra's al Ghul in the sword fight and everything. But
right,
Miller really, I think, took choreographing action sequences to a different level. That
absolutely.
I mean, he was inspired by manga, and this is common in manga. Like I said, in manga, these fights can go on for pages and pages, but something like this was just exciting and different and new back in the day.
Yeah. Well, that's why Miller became such a huge name even long before Dark Knight, because of his storytelling in these sequences in Daredevil. That's what made him explode. That's what it was right there. You've got a beautiful example of it right here in your collection. So phenomenal. I didn't know what else to say. It's just beautiful. And not only do you get him with his full costume in the most obvious 5 panels, but even that first panel with the silhouette as he's dropping from the rooftop. Love that panel, that first panel. I think that's just amazing, amazing, amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know people like to give pages like ABC grades, A++ or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how to grade this page exactly, but it's got everything I could want, really.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, I could want Bullseye or Elektra or something like that, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. But that's my point too, right? You can always want more and more.
There could always be something else. Yeah, but this is it's just a little bit of perfect content right there on a single page.
That's it. That's what made Frank Miller a household name right there. Period. And you have it. So fantastic. Congratulations, my friend. I'm glad you held on to it all this time as well. And amazing. Both of them, that and the Ditko page. So A+ for sure, Rick. This is S tier as in super. I think that's what you mean, Ian. And it does show some Neil influence in his non-costumed figures. There you go. All right.
I always thought there was some Kubert influence in there and maybe some Gil Kane, but
we all see different things at times.
We all see different things, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, it's interesting.
The silhouette stuff is so Kubert to me.
I wouldn't have thought that. But again, that's what makes art so interesting, that different people will see different things in it, which is fantastic. So, and Cab says, at least A, if not A+, but all that talk is really irrelevant if you love the hobby. Exactly.
It's irrelevant. Like I said, I hear people using that to grade comic art sometimes, and I really don't know how to do that myself. I'm just not that good at it, but
right.
For me and my purposes, that's got everything I need.
No, absolutely. CJ says the second panel has a Gil Kane feel. Okay. And do you ever show pages to artists at cons? He wants to know.
I have.
Okay.
Weirdly, like I've got this penciled prelim by Boland from Animal Man, and they see that, and oh wow, they really love that one. I've found out. They're like, oh wow, his pencil work is better than most people's finished work. Oh, this is so good.
Yeah,
but yeah. I've shown my they often will say, oh, you've curated a quote unquote curated a nice collection here. I forget who told me that, but.
Right. Well, I can tell you that. So in case you were doubting it, Tim, you've curated quite the.
I've done well for a man of my means.
For a man of your means,
I think I did well. A lot of it was because I started early when it was cheaper. Now I'm almost out of the game.
Yeah, I would say it's an excellent collection, Tim. And if I may say, the only thing maybe missing. It's a Bissette Totleben Swamp Thing page. I don't know where you'd get one of those, but as long as you don't deal with Canadians, you never know. You could get one of those and add it to the collection, and it'll be A plus. You know. But what do I know?
I'm probably a Swan Superman page, but I've always been a victim of the perfect versus the good on Swan. And this page is good, but yeah, I really want something really great. And then now to get a really good page, it costs so much money. I don't know. Maybe one of these days.
I hear that. And Ian, we got one more piece to show, Ian. One more piece to show, and then we're getting out of here. So stick around just a couple more minutes, especially Canadian lawyers. So those of you who saw the last two pieces obviously are going to be surprised at this next piece, only because a lot of you guys, I know you guys would think that one of those last two should have been the showstopper of the evening. And typically I would do that. But you guys also know that I often will also keep the showstopper. I'll reserve the showstopper piece for something that may not be the favorite to the masses. But
I have a question, Ruben. Can you go solo for a few minutes? I need to go, and then I'll come back for this last piece. So,
of course,
guys, Shimas.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I'll take care of these guys. Don't worry about it. Go for it, Tim.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah. Oh, look at you, Comic Art Boston. Let me see here. Tim is great to see and hear you in person. He's coming back. Relax. He's coming back. We still have a piece. He's going to be back for that last piece, but he needs to go for a few minutes. So that allows us to all talk a little bit. And actually, I think I've missed a few comments, guys. And let me see. Cab said first, Miller's true brilliance lay in his concepts and stories, right? But his at least earlier artwork was great as well. Yeah, I think it got better later with Klaus inking as opposed to the early Rubenstein stuff. Although I still like that stuff. But yeah. Oh yeah, the Mannix thing. Marcus, I don't think Tim is the kind of guy who would care about getting a Mannix. But you never know. I don't even know. My guess is that he doesn't even know who Mannix is. He's never heard of it. But I may be wrong. I don't know. Sorry, showing the same ones. So what follows Miller DD? A sentimental choice. So the last piece is something that's connected more. Yeah, it's meaningful to him. I believe it would be I believe it's the most meaningful piece in his collection. And that's why I saved it for the last piece rather than the Ditko or the Miller. Otherwise, the Ditko or Miller would have been the last one that I posted. Exactly, right? Right, Stingray? Exactly. Me? Who are you doubting? Who are you to doubt me? Wow. Yeah, if you're still listening. I don't know. How do you do that? I used to know how to do some kind of a two-handed thing, shadow puppet time. He wouldn't have noticed you leaving during his monologue. Nice, Sean. And another Sean, back-to-back Seans. We're up in Stain. Off topic, but have you ever shown a John Byrne page on any of your shows? Holy crap, of course we've shown John Byrne pages. What do you mean? Is that what you've been waiting for, Sean? Of course I've shown John Byrne. Maybe not super often, but of course we've shown. Ruben didn't do an unboxing video about, what do you mean? I didn't do an unboxing video about what? Gonna be able to get Tim for a show. No, thank you, Cab, but it's all I did was, Tim came into the chat, a month back or so, 4 or 5 weeks back. He came into the chat and he threw out the suggestion.
No, you asked me to do it, and I said,
I asked you. Yeah, I asked you. Whatever. Yeah. But the reason I thought of it. Of course, I thought of it. But the only reason, Cab, that I never asked him is because I always just assumed that the timing or the time zone thing made it impossible for him. So I blew that idea off right off the bat, and all Ruben shows soon. All these shows are all me. He didn't ditch me. Look at him. I told you he'd be back. And what is next week's show? You'll find out shortly. Just as we say, as we close out the show in a couple of minutes, Stanley. Antoine, overall, Miller was the whole package. I love Miller Rubenstein on Wolverine, but the early is a sure bet. Yeah. Tim would love a Mannix. I don't know. Tim, we were just talking. Do you know who Mannix is?
Oh, yeah. I've seen his artwork on Cap. Yeah, I enjoy it. He's kind of like the Fred Himback of, he's the Himback of regeneration.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's how we all put it, basically, because Marcus says, you need a Mannix, is what he's saying. I said, I don't know, not everybody needs one.
I'm not even sure how much he charges for commissions or anything yet, but yeah, if I have some money in the future, maybe, yeah, I could see myself doing that. I kind of quit doing commissions, except for really cheap ones. I used to do these very elaborate Shakespearean-based commission pieces, and I would get.
The only reason one of those pieces didn't make it to show everybody that you do that is only because not only did I wanted to cut it to keep my 20 pieces, my standard 20-piece episode, but also because I thought, well, I'm already showing that Sandman page with Shakespeare anyway, so I thought, well,
that covers it. Yeah,
I'll cover it that way, and you can talk about the commission theme anyways, So that's it.
I used to do that, and at some point I was like, well, the commissions were starting to get more and more expensive, and it was like, okay, I can get the commission, or I can get this nice panel page, and so I sort of started weeding myself off of doing commissions at some point, but. I could see myself doing it again at some point if the money and everything works out at the same time.
That's always the if, right?
Yeah, I'm also older now, and I've got to worry about things like retirement.
Well, that's it.
It's like, and the wife is like, well, it was okay in the past, but maybe you should think about
you got to start
saving that money now.
Oh, yeah. Totally get it.
Slow down there, big boy. Yeah. She doesn't mind little stuff like this or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. Okay, bring on the showstopper, says Mark Fong.
The showstopper
in Singapore. Mark, I know you came in late, very late tonight.
Mark.
So, just FYI, you are not the only one who's far away from us right now, Mark. Our very own Tim Finney is in the land of the rising sun. I don't know if you know that he is coming to us straight from Japan as we speak. So there you go. Okay, everybody, let us see what that last piece is. The showstopper for the evening. As I said, it's a beautiful page. Not what the masses would think would be the showstopper, but like I said, I think this is the one that's meaningful, the most meaningful to Tim. So that's why I figured.
Oh, okay.
That's why I sometimes I go with meaning, sometimes I go with cool, And this one will be cool and meaningful. So
Uh-oh.
the over-explainer. Exactly. Thanks, Kali. All right. So let us cue that one up. Last piece. Here we go. And yes, here it is.
The Sandman 75 page. It's
Am I
sort
right?
of the bookend,
Tim?
sort of the bookend of the Sandman 19 page.
Yeah. Am I right though, or did I kind of guess wrong?
No, for years and years, this was like probably this was probably my most prized possession. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When I got it in an eBay auction, and like it went up to my absolute maximum of what I could even think about spending at the time, which I think was about $700. And I had been trying to get this guy, I think in England, had a series of the pages from Bryan Talbot, and he was selling them for Bryan Talbot, or he had gotten them from Talbot and he was just selling them. And there was one more after this one, which was the very last page, I think, but I had been trying to get one, and I was just like, well, I just kept getting beaten. And I was like, well, I have to just go all in.
Yeah.
I have to go all in for this. And
that's what you got to do sometimes, right, Tim? I mean, when you really, really want it, and you know that so many other people really, really want the same stuff, that's what you got to say. You got to say to yourself, I've got to do it all now. It's now or never, and go strong on that. Just for this one, right? And get my
just for this. And I won the auction, and I actually jumped out of my chair, raised my hands to the roof, and then I busted my knuckles on the ceilings, and wasn't that high. Let's put it that way.
You mean like when because you bid on it and you won it, so you got so happy you jumped up into the air?
I actually jumped, and I hit my knuckles on the ceiling, and they stung really nicely, but I didn't really care because I also had a lot of adrenaline like it went down to the last second.
And Marcus wants to know, did you snipe it?
I was battling it out with this one guy. So we both bid the same thing at the same time, but my $700.
Oh, you
must have got in there a little earlier. Maybe I had put in the 700 bid because I thought, okay, this will be, and then like it just kept pop, 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 and then it went all the way up to 700, but time ran out and I won it. I can't remember exactly how it happened.
Yeah, but you probably just got yours. You got yours in there like a split second before his, and that's why you got yours. Yeah. That's how the system decides. It's when it's a tie bid, it's whoever got it in first.
Yeah.
So no, that's very cool. Oh, look at that NSN art. Mike Dellery himself, he's a big fan. That's why you always use an odd number like 711.11.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess you guys didn't do that. You both just put in 700 even.
I guess so. That seems to be my recollection.
Oh, don't apologize, Cab. Appreciate you dropping back in whenever you can. Appreciate it. Thank you. And enjoy it on Rewind. It was fun. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Have a good night.
And back in those days, we didn't have PayPal, so the only way to send money was like through postal checks.
Yes. In the old days, before PayPal existed. Exactly.
And like the most I could put on one single postal check was $700.
That was the limit?
That was the limit.
Wow.
So to pay for this and to pay for the shipping, I had to take out 2 separate postal checks to pay for it.
Yeah. The good old days, right?
The good old days.
Yeah. Oh, I remember those days. Bye, CJ. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, that's fantastic. No, amazing page, amazing collection, Tim. And an even better person, which is what I care about most. And yeah, man, thank you so much for doing this. It was a lot of fun. I'm sorry we didn't hit your 3 hour time limit, but I hope that
this is fine.
I hope the extra 25 doesn't get you in too much trouble with the wife. Let's just leave it.
No.
With that. Okay. So yeah, thank you everybody. I appreciate you all as always, of course, for being here and sticking around for the duration. And yes, I know three in a row. I know you guys are actually more used to sort of hanging out even later. And I don't know what's going to happen next week. I'm going to show you right now, and I'll leave you guys out. We'll leave you out with this. And Tim, if you can you give me another couple of minutes?
Sure.
So that when we get off, I can just talk to you. Okay. Great. I'll leave you guys out as usual with the thumbnail for next week. A couple of guys that are here in the chat are going to be with me next week. I'm doing something different with the show and tell series. I'm going to try something different, and I think it's going to be fun. And yeah, so please come back and join us for that. And let me give me a second here, and I'm going to queue up that thumbnail for that. And that's going to be at the usual time, 8:00 p.m. Eastern, 5:00 Pacific. Next Sunday, here we go. Check this out. Here we go. All right, so it's going to be Comic Art Show and Tell number 72 presents comic art throughout history. I'll explain to you guys what we're doing next week, since this will be the first Comic Art Show and Tell episode that I have multiple guests on rather than just one guest. And so that'll be different for that reason alone. And let me catch your last few comments here. Oh my, what a bookend to the issue 19. Yes, exactly, Steve. Amazing page. You'll love the ASM Spider-Man Miller DD. Excellent crown jewels of any collection. Absolutely. Great episode, guys. Thanks for the stories. Thank you, Kabi, for being here. Appreciate you. Yes, awesome. Show and tell, Tim. Thank you very much, says Tom. Wonderful collection, Tim. Thanks for sharing. And you see, Tim, look what Stanley's asking. Somebody had to do this. Any Superman art?
Got a few. I have a few. They just were not chosen.
Oh, that's it. Stingray, good stuff, Tim. Thanks, Ruben. You're very welcome. Thank you, man. We need a good 5-hour show soon. I know. That's what I was going to say, Tom. That's what I was going to say. Soon, I'm hoping we can get back to the regular length shows where we don't have to, where we can let it go as long as it goes. Who knows? Maybe next week, Carl, Kavi, and Mike might be up for however long it goes. No unboxing video from what I sent you. No, I opened it up already. How can I do an unboxing video? I'll put some of that stuff in my cat though. Wonderful collection, says Rick. Thank you, Rick, as always, of course. Nice collection, Tim. Thank you, Ruben. You're welcome, my friend. Ruben should always film unboxing of gifts sent. I don't have a time limit next week, besides when my foot wants to give up. I can't speak for the other fellas. We'll see. We'll see next week. Montreal Espressos. I almost hit 5 hours. You did, Stingray. You did well. Go till Kavi's leg gives up, basically, right? And you used to unbox him for crappy shit, man. Oh, don't be so sad. Come on, Marcus. Okay. So anyways, guys, thank you again for being here. Really appreciate it. And yes, don't forget the Nikki B show on Friday at 7:00 Eastern, 4:00 Pacific. Buy some art from him if you can. And yeah, be back here Sunday night to see all us four, the Fantastic Four next week. Okay, how about that? But yeah, thank you in all seriousness. Thank you for everything. Thanks. Later, Kavi. Talk to you soon. And yeah, we'll talk to you next time here next Sunday at the usual place and time. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it as always. And as always, go blue.